What's up, guys? I only got a couple in here right now, and I'm not sure how many we will get, but I figured I'd go ahead and do wings. And worst case, we'll go ahead and I'm going to cover the picks anyway and just put it out as a video. So, first off, if you can, if you could let me know if you can hear me okay. I have my Arctic Air in the background. I like it because it's nice and cold, but at the same time, it might make it where you can't hear me. So, let me see what we can hear. Can you guys hear me? Just got in. Can you hear me, Peter? Mike? I just want to make sure. I appreciate you guys coming. I think this is becoming fun. I figured we'd go into tonight's games. What's up, Don? Can you guys hear me good? Cool. Sometimes as art, I use this is as you can see, like one of those old school Wolf of Wall Street headsets. I do sales for a living, so I just basically figured I'd use this. So I thought that'd be cool. And sometimes it's a little finicky, so I can go in and out. But I'm glad it's good. So yeah, Blazers. I like the Blazers, obviously. If you hadn't seen if you, obviously you guys have been following me from the beginning. What's up, Crit Crit? It's good to see you. I'm glad you guys are joined me. I didn't give a lot of notice, but I wasn't even sure if. Oh, I do energy. So I'm one of those annoying people that calls you and tells you this is just a cigarette. I have my RSO pen. This is actually for my I get seizures and stuff, and it's so good for panic attacks. But yeah, I do energy. So you basically I harass people, call them up and tell them I'm going to get them a cheaper rate on their energy bill. So I'm not proud of it, but looking for a job at a dispensary or working with animals, something of that regard. Got my shepherd here. She's a little below the camera, but she's adorable. But yeah, so I wanted to go into games. I figured I'd go into the NBA games first, and I can't screen share. Unfortunately, I'm going to get OPS going on. If you guys have any questions or you want me to go into a specific thing, you could just let me know. I'll catch up the best I can. It doesn't look like it'll be too hard right now. And I just figured I'd look at the games, and obviously I'll be able to get it up on the screen. Like probably next time we do this, I'm going to try and get that OPS. But for now, I'm at least just going to go over the spreads and all. But I'm afraid I think if I go to another page here, I think it's just going to boot me out. So we have for the NBA tonight. I like the Heat a lot, and it's the same metric I've been going over. So we have a leg three outstanding, and I'm personally going to I'm taking the Heat. It's about a 50-50. They are playing the Raptors. They're in Toronto, I believe. Let's see. Yeah, they're in Toronto, and the Heat are getting 1.5. And I like them. I like the money line. If you want to be safe, the 1.5 is good. But if you just look at the metric, the against the spread, if you look back at most of our third legs, they have been ones where we've gone with a team that's like 15, 20% against the spread. Yeah, I'm curious to see what they do with the injuries. They almost fooled me yesterday with Jackson Jr. returning for the Grizzlies. I like the Pelicans. That one I like just because of the spread. But of course, last minute Jackson Jr. comes back. The only good thing about that is I've noticed a lot of times in their first game back, if you remember Ball coming back, it's not always the case, but the first game back, a lot of times they're limited minutes. If they get in any kind of foul trouble early, they kind of pull them out. And as you can see, Jackson got some blocks, but he really wasn't a difference maker. And they were able to get Val going and other guys. So uh, I am curious watching the Grizzlies going forward because they were talking all last year about how they would have beat the Warriors had they had Jackson Jr. But yeah, so I like the Heat again for the metric. You picked the Bulls money line. Well, like I said, nothing I said is guaranteed. Who are the Bulls playing? Are they playing the? They're not playing the Heat. Chicago's playing the. Oh, they're playing the Pels. Well, again, let's look at the spread. So we got an even spread here. Honestly, it's not a game I'm going to play myself, but it's not. I'll go into the Hawks in 1 second because I like them this year. I think they're trying to push the Trey Young to the the not the moon, but at least a club superstar angle pretty hard. Sorry, I'm just giving my dog some treats here. But so first off, the Bulls money line. The reason I like that pick is don't forget the Pelicans are coming off an impressive win against the Blazers with a returning Jaren Jackson Jr. Justin Jackson, Jaren Jackson Jr. So now I do think that a lot of the public is going to be fading the Bulls in this game, and it's a perfect game for the Pelicans to drop. They got an important win. So, oh, thank you. I appreciate that, Scratchman in the Discord. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think the Discord's nice. We can get think tanks going. As I said, a lot of our winning picks have been alpha from the Discord, so that's always cool. Yeah, they just Mike. They just came off that win, and that's why I feel like, and I think the Bulls didn't perform too well in their last game. I know they haven't looked great, so the fact that the spread's even has me a little less, suspicious. I wonder if you saw how good Alvarado played, uh, and Alvarado. Oh, no problem, Warzone. I'm glad you watched my videos. Scratchman, that's internet stress. He goes by Scratchman, I believe, in the Discord. I try and keep track of all the names. Sometimes it could be confusing, but yeah, I believe that's him. But yeah, I do actually think again, it's not one I'm picking personally, but I wouldn't fret over the Bulls. Moving on to the Hawks, they're coming off a couple big wins. So the question is, what's the narrative going to be with the Hawks, right? Are they going to push them and give them 10 wins, have them beat Boston, and continue? This one I actually am playing. It's going to be a first leg, and we're taking the Hawks again. Yeah, Drew Holiday being out is really big for Milwaukee. They can explain away some losses and some wins without him, but they really can't explain enough because the same thing happens. Giannis, he gets his 40, 50 points, sometimes 30, and he just gets hacked. So when they're down about 7, 8 points, Giannis becomes essentially he's not an X factor anymore. He can hit a three, but they can't play too well from behind. So you take Drew Holiday out of the equation, and without Middleton, I think they're going to lose some games. I think that's why they started them off strong. Now people will be picking them and they'll get faded. Yeah, no problem, Tristan. Like I said, I appreciate what you do. I appreciate you reaching out to me and helping me with stuff. And to me, it's just all about trying to get the most favorable metrics. So you got the over on Oklahoma City, Washington. I'm going to cover that in a second. But yeah, to finish off the Hawks, I think a lot of people are going to be taking the Celtics. Kind of like the Blazers. I have the Hawks and the Blazers in a similar category, where I think about the first probably 20 or 30 games, maybe not 30, but at least 20 games, Bucks over Cavs. After a loss, there's a good chance Cavs are a good team this year. I haven't looked at the spread. It's not one I jump out to play. We faded them twice. It worked out for us, so I'm just going to stay away for a game or two. But as far as the Hawks, I think the Hawks win. Yeah, the Heat I think win definitely, just because it's one of those games where I think people aren't paying attention to like Siakam and some of these injuries, and these injuries for the Raptors are big, and the Heat they are the worst team in the NBA this year against the spread. I don't think that holds. As you can see, even the Lakers wind up covering games that they shouldn't. So if they weren't to cover, by the way, this is a rare occasion where I have a fourth leg lined up for the Heat again, just because I don't see them starting something like 2-11 or I think it'd be like 3-13, something like that against the spread. I just don't see it. But back to the Hawks, I wanted to cover them. So you're saying Publix on the Hawks on P5, and I remember you were right yesterday about the Kings. So I'm not going to say you're wrong. What I see is, yeah, I see what Crit's seeing. Maybe later on in the season, the public's going to be on Atlanta. I will say I don't. I know some people get reliable information. I tried Vegas Insider. I tried Action, and they led me to really wrong decisions. I picked certain teams to win because they swore that the action was on one side, and I'm not saying they were wrong, but it did not help me. Like according to Vegas Insider and some of these, Vegas is paying the public out the ass, and I just can't believe that. Now, I'm not saying again other people aren't getting better, more accurate numbers, but I do think narratives reign supreme, and I still think there's going to be some action. Don't forget, there's live action on the Celtics, so I do like the Hawks again. After this game, I might not play them for a couple games, but to me, this is a good one, too good of one to pass up on. It's kind of like when the Blazers played the Suns earlier, and we liked them because people still have the Blazers just like they have the Hawks, in my opinion, as the same team as last year. So, just to recap, the Heat I like as a third leg. We did have a second leg in Dallas lose, so I do like the Heat to win, and I'll update the sequences for my next video. Like I said, I just can't screen share, and I do like the Hawks. Both of them are essentially money lines. but you could take the -1.5 for the Hawks and the +1.5 for the Heat if you want. And then moving on to the someone mentioned the Cavs Bucks and the Bulls Pelicans. Yeah, I'm not playing that one, but I would lean Bulls. So we're gonna go into the Cavs Bucks, and then I know we have an over. Who has the over? Okay, so we Mike, you got the over on Oklahoma City, Washington. I haven't looked at the metrics. Let me see. So for Oklahoma City, Washington. So Oklahoma City's gone over a good bit this year. So there's a good chance they go under. And Washington's about 50-50. So that's not a bad pick. I would have reserved the over for Boston, Cleveland personally. Or not Boston, Cleveland, Boston, Atlanta personally. I might play that over. Or I'm sorry, that under. I might fade that over. But Oklahoma City over could hit because Washington's a little below on the over. And I think a lot of people might fade the over. That seems like more people are going to pick the under. So again, that's not one I'd go out of my way to pick, but I don't think you're in any harm at the over. Uh, yeah. So this is what I think they're going to do with the Hawks. I think they're going to push the fact that Clint Capella is not an average player. He's a really good old school center. Dallas in their home game. I think they win. I think they finally cover Harry. We were joking about it. I do think they finally get off that spread. They have to give the crowd one banger. Just hasn't happened yet. They have to give them one banger, and I think Dallas covers. So that's going to be a second sequence, okay? Because we lost the first sequence in the Nets. So the second sequence for me is going to be personally. I'm taking Dallas to cover. I think it's around 8 again. So I got Dallas covering 8 as a second, and as a third, I have the Heat basically winning. To go over the Hawks, yeah, with Capella, with Hunter, with the way Trey's playing versus last year, they're definitely going to push the Hawks as a I think as the division winner. I think they're going to push Trey and again in the club superstar, and I think they're a good team to pick this year because again people are looking at them like the Blazers, just teams that maybe like the Pels. Actually, the Pels are getting more respect than those teams. Yeah, Collins, career low 1.8. He's finishing 1.7 possessions per game as the pick and roll career low. So yeah, the Pels being fresher tonight than people think. They could be. I'm not saying they're not going to look good. I think they're going to look like a feisty team. But I think Alvarado looking as good as he did. Uh, he played 10 minutes. That is a light load. Yeah, he might play more tonight. So Alvarado, I think his purpose, his role is obviously like the Pat Beverly role. I think he's going. Him and Herb Jones are basically going to be out there. If you watch the playoffs last year, there is no explaining away without Zion why the Pelicans should have beat the Suns, right? So what did they do? They had Brandon Ingram suddenly play like a top superstar, and now again he's the only time he plays pretty good is when Zion's out. The other thing they did is they really moved up Alvarado as just a lockdown, feisty defender who was causing guys like Chris Paul himself had two backcourt violations. Okay, Chris Paul is a genius. Yeah, the Bills just seems like a trap. Bulls just seems like a trap. I like the Bulls too. Uh, to me, it just seems like a complete trap. But yeah, no, the Pels can be fresh. They could definitely play a good game, and I think they're gonna want to make them look good. I just think a lot of the public's gonna be on them after last night. So to me, it would definitely explain you can explain away a loss in my opinion a lot easier. I think the exact spreads. Let's see what the spreads at because a lot of times they'll change them on me. Like the opening spread will be way different than what it closes at. And like I said, hopefully I'll be able to screen share. It'll be a lot better tomorrow or whenever we do this next. So we got here we go. So we got the Pelicans. Yeah, they're the Bulls. Yeah, I just think I was trying to see the over under, and yeah, the spread's about even there too, just like the Heat. So I just you could take the Bulls plus 1.5, or you could just take the money line. But I think the Bulls do cover this. And then if you look at their against the spread metrics, the, the Bulls are actually pretty good this year. But again, I usually don't really factor it in unless they're doing like 70% or better or 30% or worse. So I really don't I think that's a trap game. I really do. I think the Bulls trap the Pelicans. Gonzaga versus Texas, you're gonna have to help me with that one. Uh, I don't know anything. Is that college basketball? I'm guessing. I don't know anything about college basketball. What I can tell you guys is there's one team I like because of a metric that I wrote down. Okay, if you can maybe tell me like some of the Okay, so Marco took the money line for Texas. Yeah, so I'm guessing Texas might be a good pick. I have to look into college basketball, but what I do like is I put it in here too. I'm trying to. Oh, here it is. So I'm not sure which of these teams even plays today. I think one of them does. If I'm not mistaken, I think Houston plays today. And I like taking. I took 30 and a half for South Texas. For the serious, I'm sorry, for the simple reason I was reading the word serious as I was saying it. For the simple reason, they're 3-0 against the spread this year, and again, while it's early in the season, I just those lines don't hold. We're already down to only a handful of college basketball teams that are undefeated or winless against the spread. So currently TCU is 0-3. They don't play for a couple days. UNC is 0-3. There's a lot of bigger teams, and then there's a lot of smaller teams that are 0-3, 3-0, and I'm going to be taking them. But the only one that I saw playing tonight is Houston. So I do like as a first sequence. It's going to be a new sequence. I think it was the South Texas or some shit. I like them to cover the 30 and a half. That's just what I believe. Make half a mil on Hughes to win in the NCAA finals. So, Matches Mac, did he do it again with Houston? So, yeah, I got to look into this guy because definitely this guy's a calm or something. He's not some random dude. I know obviously he's already famous, but it's just interesting he keeps coming up. So he was right about the Astros. I think he was wrong about the Raiders though, wasn't he? Didn't he have something about the Raiders? I think honestly, he might be like in on it. I don't know. I mean, he was right about the Astros, so if people listen to him, they made money. But I don't know anything about this guy. So for me, like anybody that the mainstream gives enough time and attention to, and he was getting a good bit of time and attention. I feel like just watch out for him. But like I said, if he was right, then there's no reason to fade him, right? I mean, I haven't followed him as long as a lot of you guys. I just really looked into a $75 million bet. So he had it on, yeah. And what's odd, I see that. I wonder if he knows stuff because I don't know what their ranking was last year, but they came into this year ranked really well. I see. I was shocked the Astros won after that bet he placed. Yeah, I was shocked they won for a different reason. Let me go over this real quick. We have time. Let me just take a hit of this real quick, and then I'll go over it. Sorry for any annoying noise. So the reason I was shocked that the Astros won is I really thought that, Mike, real quick, I think it's a trap. I didn't pick that for that reason. I think the Magic without Banchero should be about 10 point. I mean, as the Wolves are playing, the Magic have been terrible. So I'm not saying it's definitely going to be a trap, but I stayed away from it because the Wolves looked a little too good to be true. When I saw it, the points were closer to like 5. I thought they were laying 5 though, not getting them. So I saw the Wolves like laying 5, and I thought the public would have been all over that. Yeah, I think the Magic just for some reason the line just looks suspicious, and I think there's a chance they cover. But I didn't play that game. But back to the Astros, I thought after they cheated and won. Oh, no problem, Steve. I'm glad you're here. That's all that matters, right? I know everyone's busy. Like I said, Mike, I could be wrong. I stayed away from it. Yeah, Magic could definitely pull the upset. They're still pushing Wolves as like inexperienced. I just think with Banchero, I looked into it. He's definitely not playing from what I could see. It's hard to explain away why they should win, or even. And so I thought the 5-6 points was kind of close. I thought they should have been bigger dogs. But we'll have to see what happens. The Heat's the one, like I said, there's always ones I focus on. The Heat's the one I like the most. I just love that game. And there's a few others, like I said. I like the Bulls. Um, I do like, who is the other? Oh, not the Pelicans, the Hawks. Sorry. I like the Hawks. I think the Hawks pull off that upset. So there is a few that I like. The Mavs I'm leaning towards, and we're going to get into the Suns. Oh, thanks, Marco. Marco is always like way on point to the point he should have his own video because like everything he says, especially if like he'll say something and I don't listen, and he's never braggadocious about it, but I'll be like, man, I should have listened to him because he was definitely right on point. So he's really insightful. If you see his comments, I would pay attention to them. They're usually right over the target. And not to go off too off tangent, but I wanted to get back to what I was explaining about. Was I going over? I think I was going. Oh, the Astros. So to me, it makes sense, and this is a theory I didn't get to cover in a video. So they got caught cheating, right? And they lost because of it. Not lost, but like they got the asterisk, whatever you want to call it. To me, it makes perfect sense. You bring in a guy like Dusty Baker, and Don. I'm going to go into Franz in 1 second. I think he could be. Uh, he's a good player, and he's one of those difference makers. But going back to Houston, thanks everybody. Oh, here we have somebody wanting us to have a good time. That's nice of them, isn't it? I didn't filter any comments. Sorry, I'll have to go ahead and do that. Houston Astros. What's interesting is Dusty Baker comes in and he's renowned around the league. Everyone loves him. And my theory was the Astros were going to get pummeled because they cheated and nobody wanted to see them win. And people were even saying that. But then I thought about it and what happened? Well, they brought in a new unit. They brought in Dusty, a respected guy, and he basically cleaned up the mess. So now when people remember the Astros winning, and this is just my opinion in hindsight, now when people remember the Astros winning, they're going to remember Dusty Baker getting his first ever. They'll remember the cheating, but they're going to think it was corrected. And really, they just threw in a new manager to get rid of the black eye on the team. Now they don't have that black eye. It's That's just my opinion. I think that makes sense because now their last victory wasn't an asterisk because the MLB, NBA, none of these leagues want asterisk. That's why they try and correct them. So that was my opinion on the Astros. Going into other Houston teams, I'm not sure they do so well. I think this was specifically the Astros. Uh, and yeah, I could be wrong. To me, that makes sense. It's the only reason I could see them winning and beating the Yankees again after people know they cheated. People aren't fans of Altuve and them for cheating. So bringing in Dusty and winning with a new unit is the only thing I could really think of that made sense. Under 75.5 in USC, spot on the line. So CFP, college football, spot on the line. So is that for this weekend, Stephen, the USC game, I presume, or are you talking about a basketball game? Because with football these days, I wouldn't be surprised if an over under was set at 75.5. I I believe the Astros beat the fuck out of the Yankees. Weird. Yeah, and I like proving quotes. It's basically to solidify it. I think without the asterisk. So now you have the Yankees with Aaron Judge, the dream team. Really not a lot of injuries. LeMahieu was hurt, and the Astros were able to do it clean, like quote clean, right? USC football. I don't know about the over under, but yeah, exactly. Like they made it where there was no shenanigans that people could really see. I think the biggest one was like Judge was complaining his home run should have got out of the ballpark. I don't have any, so I can if you give me a game, Mike, I can tell you who I would lean towards. But I just faded Tulane, so I didn't really want to play that game again. I only faded them last week because I knew they weren't going to start that good against the spread. So they did lose. So I'm not sure if I'm going to fade them again. UCF, yeah, I think USC beats UCLA. Um, I think they're going to try and push the winner of that division versus, say, Tennessee. I don't think TCU finishes undefeated, so they're going to be out. So to me, it's going to become a matter of USC versus Tennessee who gets in, and I think they're trying to push USC. Cavs beat Bucks. Definitely possible they do it again. They're presenting the Cavs strong this year, and the Bucks are still really good against the spread. I'm staying away from it just because if I play a couple games in a row with a team, I faded them twice in a row and it worked out. So I could fade them again, but I could see him coming back and getting a strong win too, proving Giannis is still, a threat. So that one I'm staying away from. It's a little tougher. I thought the Hawks one made more sense for the Hawks to win. So that's why I like them. Yanks, yeah, they definitely did. I mean, you can tell when they're selling because, like, it's just common sense, right? You got a guy on first, no outs, 3-0 count. You should be taking that pitch all day, and they'll be golfing at balls, and they did that the whole series. And the Phillies did it too towards the end. You don't go from not being able to miss to not being able to hit. Just like defensive players in football shouldn't be able to go from not being able to tackle somebody to taking perfect angles and knocking them out in the backfield. It just, it's ridiculously obvious. Yeah, if you notice, they have them both in the top, and they moved UCLA up a lot, so they're at 7. They're going to flip LSU. The question is if they when they beat UCLA. I think I say when because they're pushing Caleb Williams. do they put? I'm curious your guys' opinion. Do you think? Yeah, I mean Harper is a good actor. I'll say that. That guy could do whatever he wants, and then there's games he couldn't do anything. Do you guys think USC wins? Caleb Williams wins. And either way, do you think the winner gets in over Tennessee? Because I'm curious. I was talking with Heat, this guy Heat in the Discord. He has good information, and he thinks, and I think it made sense that the Pac-12 winner might get pushed. I got money on Tennessee to win it, but I'm just curious if you guys think they'll lean towards the Pac-12 winner or Tennessee if they finish strong. I'm assuming Michigan loses, of course, the final game of the season. So we'll have the yeah football. So we're probably going to have my opinion is TCU loses to Baylor, so they're out. So it's going to leave Georgia, Ohio State, and then it's going to be between Tennessee, USC, and Michigan, of course. And Michigan. That's just my theory. It could be you can swap USC for UCLA though. I'm curious if they put them in over say Tennessee. If Tennessee is wins, but they consider winning the Pac-12 more important. You do. So the reason I like them, truth, and let me see if I didn't miss anything. Uh, Cavs beat Bucks. Yeah, like I said, that one could go either way. Eastern Michigan, Western Michigan. I found it interesting. All the Michigans are playing tonight. I think Central Michigan's playing too. I just stayed away from those, Mike, because they didn't hit any metrics I loved, and they didn't hit any narratives. Now, speaking of narratives, Truth's hitting it right now. Um, he- that's the narrative I like. The last time there was a Heisman, well, he didn't win the Heisman, but he was a Heisman candidate, the best player they've had, Peyton Manning. Now we got Hendon Hooker, and this guy is I've been saying this since last year. This guy is an NFL owner's wet dream. I mean, the man can speak well. The man can throw well. He's a great spokesperson for the team. He is extremely poised. He is ridiculously good at, in my opinion, at just controlling the pace of a game. Like he's just everything a team should want in a quarterback. If he needs to, he can run the ball. But his football IQ is extremely high. You can tell whatever needs to be done. Oh, I didn't know they retired. They retired Manning's jersey. So yeah, it makes sense they retire his jersey and then Tennessee. I had a theory the Colts might get Hooker if Bryce Young's taken first. So we'll have to see what happens. So you like the Yeah, and the Buckeyes. I mean, they're looking good. I mean, they're the team that a lot of people think might win it because of how CJ's playing. But yeah, Tennessee. I mean, they got the Heisman House in Tennessee, so that's pretty interesting. So as a conference champion, or only one loss. The last one loss to make this. Oh, okay. So, the last one loss non-conference. So, Steven, you're saying there's a good chance you think the Pac-12 winner gets in. That'd be interesting too. I hope Tennessee does, just because I got money on them. But I definitely agree. If you think the non-conference champion makes a difference in the SEC, it's tough. But that's what I've been told by a few people. Super Bowl. Actually, so I wonder if you guys can see the screen, because I actually have my bracket filled out, my Super Bowl bracket. I don't know if you can see it. Let me see. No, there's no way. Oh, you can. So here's the AFC. As you can see, I got the Bills as a first seed. I got the Chiefs as a 3 seed. The numbers are kind of flipped, but I got the Jets, Titans, Bengals. I do have the Broncos, Ravens. On the NFC, I have the entire NFC East getting in. The Vikings, yeah, the Vikings get in the playoffs. I don't know if they win the Super Bowl, but they're going to probably finish with, I think, the second best record. I do think the Eagles finish with the best record, with the trap fade towards Packers tomorrow. Yeah, I think the Packers win tomorrow. I think Rodgers is going to have a ridiculous run and fall just short of the goal line, no pun intended. So everyone could feel bad for quote poor Aaron. So I have Packers winning enough games to basically be in there the last week, and I think the Commanders are going to get in instead of them. I think that'd be really fitting. And they're the bracket I did where I did each week. I just really picked who I thought would win. I gave the Commanders losses where they should be getting them. I gave the Packers a couple upsets, and it still finished so that the Commanders actually beat them out. So yeah, so here's what I know. Bam being out, not great. But Deadman's been doing a good job, and to me, Tyler Hero, he reminds me of if you watch the Mavericks, they have a couple players like him who um, they can. Dinwiddie is kind of that way. He can go off, but then there's a lot of games where I think he's a detriment to the team with his missed threes. I like watching as long as they got their Gabe Vincent's going, Jimmy Butler's going good, Deadman's in. Bam being out's not great, but again, Sia comes out, so I think it kind of balances out, and I still like the Heat. So Brady, you think so Mike, I'm just curious because I know you're not the only one, and I see Truth you like the Vikings or Miami. I think Miami gets in. I just don't think they he. I don't think Miami gets too far. Uh, and actually, in my bracket, there's a good chance they're interchangeable with the Jets. I'm just trying to keep up with this. I don't know anything about the Zags, so I will look into that. So I'm curious how you guys could probably tell me more about that. The NBA Finals hasn't changed for me. If you watch my last video, I think the Sixers get in, and eh, I don't have thoughts on. I'm sorry, Peter. I just to me that's one of those games where it could be a complete coin flip, you know. But I want to hit two quick questions because one's going over and there are two by Rogo Crazy. So it's going to be who goes to the finals and the Nets narrative. So I think that the finals are the 76ers, and I'm going to say Blazers. Just because my preseason pick was Blazers, I think they're a really fun team to watch, and I think they can spoil a lot of games. I think they can beat teams like the Warriors and teams like the Mavs. As far as the Sixers, I went into a narrative. It's the 76th season. I know some are arguing it's the 77th, but they literally said last year, all year, it was the 75th anniversary. So I think 76ers, all year, they're going to tease that Doc doesn't have it. And I think they give him his redemption at the end of the year. That's just what makes sense to me. I think that he would have been fired by now, or they would have started off worse had and lost the important games. I'll have to look at Boston. The Celtics, I'm actually fading. I think the aren't the Celtics playing the Pelicans? Let me see. Yeah, I think I'm going. I like the Pelicans over the Celtics to be. Or no, they're not playing the Pelicans. Hold on, I'm getting my games mixed up, guys. Celtics, Hawks. I like the Hawks tonight. I really do. I think Trey Young gets pushed in the club superstar. How do you do that? I said one step he beat Giannis. Step two, you beat some of the best backcourt guys in the game. You beat Marcus Smart. You beat I don't even know who's starting, but you beat Tatum. You beat those guys. I agree. I like the Hawks in that game. Yeah, Mike, we finally covered with the Hurricanes. That was really nice. It was nice to finally cover. It took a while, but it was nice to cover. Yeah, it's going to be close, Cruddy. I feel like it's going to be a close game with the Heat. That's why they have it as a close line. And yeah, so Pelicans. I'm going to make a prediction. Truth that Pelicans and the MP5. I think the Hawks come through again. I think people keep fading them until finally they realize, oh wow, they're actually pretty good this year. Pelicans Blazers is going to be so fun to watch if they do it in the playoffs. Reggie Miller or whoever's calling the game, it might have been Rich Jefferson. They both kind of sound alike to me. They have a very like whiny voice. They come on very salty sometimes. But anyway, they were they were really like fanning over the Pelicans and how fun they were to watch. And they even said with them in the Grizzlies, "Oh, we can't wait to see this in the playoffs." So yeah, Smart being out makes a big difference. That definitely makes a difference. They're not going to have anyone, and even with him, I think they'll find a way to get Trey off. But oh, hey, what's up, Sonny? Oh, no genius, just a guy who with autism who loves numbers. So it does help though. The autism sometimes helps. But yeah, I think the Hawks get pushed, and Portland Pelicans would be such a fun playoff game. Uh, I'll go into the next two because they're the same team. They have these interchangeable players who can like Shadon Sharp, who can literally range from the one to the four. And then on the Pelicans, you have Ingram who can come in and range. Val is a good center. Val versus Nurk. Imagine Ant and Dame versus CJ and Alvarado. It's a ridiculous fun. Like just thinking about it, it's a Grant versus Ingram. it just matches up so perfectly. I think they did it on purpose. So I think we're going to see that matchup in the playoffs, and that's going to be good to watch when the Blazers play the Pelicans because to me they're like the same team. Knicks, well, the Knicks, I actually think they're going to be almost like a playoff team, play-in team this year. Where does Portland fall off? I don't know if they necessarily fall off. I have them win the division. I don't know if they quite win the Western Conference. I do have them winning it, but I don't know if they. I don't think they beat the Sixers. I think the Sixers win this year. It just makes sense to me. So Marcus Smart, these are players that are out. Yeah, I think that's a great way to explain away the Hawks. Robert Williams, that guy's a monster. That dude blocks shots. If you, I watched him in the playoffs last year. Him being out, I'm happier he's out than Marcus Smart. And then you got Capella on the inside. So I think the Hawks. That's a trap. I think the Hawks win. Yeah, and that's another thing, Roto Crazy. They seem to almost reward players, reward teams. So one team will make it, but they'll like put over another team, like you said, and now it'll be the Sixers' turn this year to get in. The Celtics will put them over, or something to that effect. I saw someone brought up Warriors Suns. How are the Suns plus money versus Warriors? I'll tell you why. Because people think it's real. So people are looking at it and they're looking at the fact that Chris Paul is day to day. I don't even know if he's playing. He probably will sneakily play. He is not playing. Okay. Well, get ready for Cameron Payne to look like him. Just my opinion. This is one of those games where I think they're going to go back and forth. This is a rivalry. Remember when Booker was flashing the four rings to the? Oh, did I miss something, Sonny? Thank you. Oh yeah, no problem at all. Last night Blazers. That was rough. It did. I picked this the Blazers minus 8, and they lost by 7. So that's always rough. And of course, at the end when the Blazers got a rebound, you know how they'll always foul them a couple times. No foul. So that wasn't fun. I like the Suns. They're presented as a team who doesn't lose at home, and I think they still want to set the message that hey, we're still the Suns. We're still the best team in the West. Yeah. So Vegas probably knows something because why would it be even money without Chris Paul? And why didn't the line change when he went from questionable to out? That's what I find interesting. When the line, if it moved like a point or two, maybe, but I could I would expect it to move. I think Chris Paul's worth 3.5 points. Just my opinion. I think he's worth 3 to 3.5 points. I think that's being more than fair. And I just I don't see how when like a player like Chris Paul is officially ruled out, Vegas can't doesn't change the lines. So I do like the Suns to cover that game and win. So I watched how you said the Blazers should be covering the spread about 80. So I said, oh yeah, yeah. So yeah, no, the Blazers. I don't think that 80% is going to hold like long over the long course of the season. What I said about the Blazers is I think they're going to cover more than a lot of teams. I think they're yeah, I did go with the Blazers. I took them. You're right to fade that metric. So here's something I want to go into, Sonny. So I was wrong. I really should have faded the Blazers yesterday. Maybe I was a little biased. Maybe I really wanted them to cover because they had the best record against the spread, and I just thought the 8 points was kind of high. So I thought it was like a 50-50. But when I see that metric almost 99 times out of 100, I'm going to fade the team that's doing so well against the spread. So the Blazers were an exception. Sometimes I'll have exceptions, like the Lakers. I can see them losing multiple games and starting 15-20%. But yeah, the Blazers, I normally would fade that game. I actually did twice for that reason, and both times they covered. So I'm like, I'm not going to make that mistake again. And this time I picked them and they lost. So that's kind of why I do my system. So with the leg two, we're going to be doing a leg 2 on that now. But yeah, back to the Suns Warriors. I think they make this a rivalry. So I think we're going to have them going back and forth, and they're going to have a playoff matchup. They literally said, Booker said, "Wait till we meet, and it's not the regular season." Like he wouldn't just say that to assume you're both going to make the playoffs and match up against each other. So I really believe that they make the playoffs, and people are given the matchup that Luca quote robbed them of, and for that to happen I think you have to have some back and forths. So I love the Suns at home. The Packers, um, I like the Packers to win a lot of games. I think they're going to win mostly all their games, miss a couple. Aaron Rodgers said, "We're not dead," quote, yet. meaning they still have some fight. But I think by saying yet, he's giving us a little bit of a cryptic clue that they are going to eventually be done and before the playoffs, because they were specifically referring to them getting in the playoffs. And he said, "We're not dead yet." So I think that yet becomes inevitable in week 18. I think they finish right outside the bubble. And I'm going to go into my NFC Beast theory right after this. Oh, so I was asked about the Nets narrative earlier. So here's something I want to go over with you guys. The Nets 7-6 Titans, yeah, that maybe it'll even out. A lot of times that happens. Uh, so I wanted to go over the Nets. So I had a theory they were punishing Kyrie Irving. Made sense to me, right? They did it to Rodgers. They usually do it if you stand up. Even on look at LeBron. If you get too political, it doesn't matter on which side they're going to. The powers that be are going to make sure that you're kept in line. So in the case of Kyrie, he got out of line. Didn't do what they wanted, and I thought about it at first and thought they're just going to make the Nets do really good in his absence. But what I saw Nash get fired. I saw him get a 5-game suspension when everyone wanted his head on a stick. So a 5-game suspension is kind of a slap on the wrist if you think about it, uh, for what the league wanted. I think the Nets are being punished. Maybe they didn't go after him hard enough, and we're going to see the Nets continue to look like this until something's done about Kyrie. That's just my opinion. They brought back Jock Vaughn, the coach that wasn't doing too well for them before. It just seems like until you do something about this Kyrie issue, like something serious, they want something very serious to be done, then yeah, they got completely blown out by the Kings. And if you guys didn't know, they flashed in the game last night's Kings game. They flashed 100. Yeah, they gave 153. And while the Kings were scoring, it was like a half a second. They flashed, and there were some Orthodox Jews in the they had their whole garb on and everything in the crowd, and they were cheering. So they put the symbolism right there. This stuff isn't uh, hidden. Not to get too deep, but I thought that was interesting. I've never seen them just flash to a bunch of Catholics or a bunch of any faith. So it was just weird. Playoffs, Packers in playoff lock. They need Rodgers. I think they need Rodgers to fall just short so everybody can feel bad for him. I could be wrong. I thought the same thing. I thought Rodgers, Russell, Brady all had to be in the playoffs. But I think Russell is going to come back and get in. I actually, yes, yes. Funny, it's almost like we're on the same brain cell. Yeah, King sacrifice, exactly. There's a lot of double meanings. But yes, I do think Russell comes back. He had a different, yeah, 153 points. That's just ridiculous. And at no point, they looked like a high school team. They were just throwing up bricks. They weren't even passing the ball around. It was bad. Broncos, yeah, I think Russell comes back. I do. I think he comes back. I think people are going to really fade him now, and the schedule's favorable. It really is. The schedule's very favorable, and yeah, definitely. It was I don't know, the 153. Sorry, I was trying to update something, but yeah, that's why I thought the Nets were going to win. I thought they were going to make Kyrie look bad. Then when I started seeing what was happening, I realized, wait a second, 5 games. They kind of said a couple things about how the Nets needed to do something about it. So now I think we kind of know what's going on with the Nets. That team, maybe they didn't go as hard as they should have on Kyrie, and it's more like a Dan Snyder thing. It's not the player, it's the owner, it's the organization. But yeah, I also wanted to cover. There's one last thing. Um, I forget what. Oh, the Packers. Yeah, I think Aaron falls just short. It makes sense. Yeah, they got to play the twice, so they can split them. I have the Broncos. Tomorrow I'm going to be able to do it, like I said, where I'll use my phone or I can do screen share. If you want to check out the website yourself, it's pretty cool. It's called. I found one where you can plug in each week and do a simulator. It's just next.playoffpredictors.com. So next.playoffpredictors, and I typed in like who I thought was going to win each week. Didn't go too crazy. I had Green Bay upsetting Philly even, and I believe it or not, the Commanders still get in. For the Broncos, I have them splitting the Chiefs. I have them losing another game, I think, and winning out, and they just edge out Miami in my bracket, and the Jets get in. Now, the reason I think the Commanders get in so strongly is so as of right now, the entire AFC East would be in the playoffs if it ended today. and they're kind of pushing that AFC beast, NFC beast narrative. But I think they're pushing it more for the AFC, but it's going to happen for the NFC. So I think the Patriots. I don't think they win that many. I think they're going to lose a lot of their upcoming games. I think they're out. I think the Jets and Dolphins. I think they split. So I think one of them gets in. I don't think they both get in, and I don't think it's a coincidence they play the last game of the season. So the winner of that game likely gets in. And then on the other side, you get the Packers. And it was funny because I had Week 17. I had Packers winning all these different games. But if you switch the Rams to losing or Week 18, I think it's when the Rams play in Week 18. If you switch them to losing their game versus winning it, it puts the Commanders in. If you switch them to winning the game, so basically the Packers is likely going to come down to another team having to win or lose. And to me, the narrative makes so much more sense for Rodgers to fight all the way back, only for another team to lose and him not get in, and then they can force, hey, the first time ever the entire NFC East got in the playoffs. Oh, what's up, Creaky? No problem, man. You can hop on and off whenever you want. That's the cool thing about this. I figured even if nobody joined, hey, I got 37 more than my birthday party. No, I'm kidding. But the cool thing is if you guys are at work or something, you could watch this whenever you want. There's a lot of people that I watch their live stuff afterwards, so I figured I would just do this, and worst case, people could watch it afterwards. And I was hoping people would show up. I was hoping we'd get like 10, so it's really cool. I'm trying to do my best to keep up. If I miss something, don't you're not spamming. You can write it again. If I didn't cover a question, just write, hey, you missed me, and just write the question. I'm just trying to go into, you know, the regular rigmarole and also cover all the questions. I think Broncos split the Chiefs. So I got the Commanders splitting the Giants. Nothing crazy there. I got them. I got them upsetting. One of I have them losing the next Philly game because I think they play again. I could be wrong. I think I have them beating the Giants. I have them losing to San Francisco. I have a pretty fair schedule. They get in. And I think again, it's just because of the NFC beast. Yeah, so I have to look at the NFL schedule because we're like in like five sports now. I got college football, basketball, we got regular basketball, NFL, and sometimes hockey. But Cowboys, they get in. I have them going to the NFC Championship and losing to the 49ers. That's just my prediction. They could be interchangeable with the Vikings, but yeah, there's a lot of sports, and I did wrestling and politics. I got beat pretty bad on politics, but um, wrestling I did well. MJF fights tonight. If you guys want to make some money, put some money on MJF. The odds might have moved really out of our his favor, but he definitely beats. So I have good news for your Steelers. He doesn't have a losing season. I think there's a first time for everything. But imagine Tomlin getting a top five pick, and now he can draft a quarterback like Bryce and build him up or Hendon. I think Tomlin and I think you need to give the better. You got to give Tomlin and the Steelers the quarterback. I think it's a waste if you put him on Carolina. We've seen that story before. Detroit, we've seen that story before. To me, what makes the most sense is you put Tomlin, you give him Bryce or Hendon, get people excited, and they could be right back at in that division. No Brady. So I actually think he wins only because of default. That division's terrible. My original theory was Jameis was going to come back. The Saints were going to play the Bucks, but the Saints have to win too many games that I just don't think they can. The Bucks would have to lose, and the Falcons would have to lose. So that theory I don't see coming to fruition. But I do think, oh, the over the Eagles, I'll go into that. But I do think that the Bucks get in basically by default. Your Broncos winning streak this weekend, and yeah, I still do, David. I don't think the Packers quite get in. The Raiders are out, uh, but I think the Broncos go on a run. I think they win the games they should. They can still afford to lose a game. The way they set up this, the structure is it's on purpose and coordinated. I think the Broncos get in. Titans plus 3, saw the preview. Experts got Packers. I like the Packers. I think Packers beat the Titans. The Titans just got their win with their new coach. They got the win over the Broncos. I think people are still going to be fading Aaron because if you notice, they made his win a very close one. He hasn't blown anybody out yet. I really like the Packers. The reasoning for Jags, I'm sorry, Mike. I was behind Trevor, and I'm going to hit you next lane. It's just I have a longer answer there. I was behind Trevor for a long time, but unfortunately, the NFL's not. Maybe Khan is focused more on wrestling than the Jags, and he doesn't care. Fun fact: the owner of the Jags also owns AEW. But I just think I thought they were going to win certain games. I thought they were going to beat the Giants. I thought they were going to win a couple games that they shouldn't have, or that they should have. I thought they were going to keep it with close with them and the Titans. I think people are tired of the Titans, honestly, but I don't know. Maybe because maybe the Tennessee Volunteers are going to fall short. They got to get the Titans in there. But something's going on with Trevor. They haven't given him the push yet, and I don't know why. Usually by this year, he'd be getting some kind of push. He seems like he's going to go down the Marcus Mariota route, but I could be wrong. Hopefully next year something happens with the Jags. They just seem to be the same thing every year. Now, Lane, the reasoning of Cowboys Niners is I feel like everybody's thinking Eagles, and even though I feel like everybody's thinking Niners, I like the Jimmy G comeback story. So all year they're talking about how he was a backup and how he was backing up Brady, and then he was almost fired from the Niners. And then even when he came back, Yance was the guy, and then Yance gets hurt, and he comes back. I'll definitely do a recap of my basketball picks. I'll just hit them all in order. Um, but yeah, so he comes back, and now he's leading them to victory. They get McCaffrey. Now, when they got McCaffrey, I was a little worried that maybe it was too obvious. But as you can see, you have teams like the Eagles that, yeah, you got the MVP jinx, and you got the undefeated team where yeah, I think the Patriots were the last to go, and they didn't even win. So, and when you start off this good, I think it's a red herring, just like the Giants were a red herring. So that's the reason I have the Cowboys over those teams, and the reason I have the Niners is completely in the narrative. So it could be the Vikings, but I do think it's going to be the Niners that win the NFC, and I do think the Jets. Yeah, Snoopy. The uh, the Jets. They're doing good. I think I have them in the playoffs in my bracket, and I'm not gonna lie, I literally had it 50-50 between them and the Dolphins. So I did what any logical person would do, and I flipped a coin. No, I didn't flip a coin, but I did remember that a guy flipped a coin, and in his coin flip predictions, he is now 9-0 or something like that. He has the Jets getting to the AFC Championship. I don't have him getting that far, but I have him getting in the playoffs because of that video. It's funny because I was already 50-50 on them and the Dolphins. Last time Dolphins and Jets played a week 18 to get in, I was actually the Favre lost to Pennington and the Dolphins got in. So this time I think they reverse history. I think Jets get in. And yeah, I'm going with the coin flipper because we're 50-50 anyway. So I think the Jets get in, maybe get out of the first round, beat a team like the Titans. But on the AFC side, I do have. I think it was. Yeah, I got Buffalo and Baltimore. Uh, I think it's those two teams, and I'm just sticking with the Ravens. Although I'm starting to see more indications that Buffalo might do it, I'm just going to stick with just like I had the Blazers preseason until I see something that really changed in my mind. I'm going to stick with the Ravens Niners. That was my original pick. Wolves, I think they turn it around, Ant. I really do. I think they turn it around. And yeah, the Packers are a favorite. That so when you see those things young, Mello, that's just Vegas basically telling you they know something. Hold on one sec. That's just Vegas telling you they know something. A team shouldn't be a favorite, they are, and that's basically what I was thinking. So yeah, Neil brought it up too. It just to me makes a lot of sense. You're taking the Titans plus three, Neil. So yeah, a lot of times the experts could be one way or another, but I think the Packers need this win. And I think Rodgers gave away the script, to be quite honest. I think the Wolves get in the playoffs and as like a play-in. I do think that they wind up flipping teams like the Jazz. I don't think teams like the Jazz finish where they started. Uh, and if you're wondering about how the whole NFC East gets in, it's because I have the Seahawks flopping. Just to round that up, I wanted to finish that off. The only way the NFC East can all get in is if obviously one other team flops, and I think the Seahawks flop. I think that this is basically as far as they go. They might get a couple wins, but I don't think they win games against the Rams, Niners. They already got one, I understand, but towards the end of the season, I think they fall just short. That's just what I think. I think it really makes sense to get Washington in there. don't forget politics also stems in. So you got Dallas, Washington, New York. It's an interesting dynamic. Philadelphia. So and they're talking about it anyway. So I think Seahawks flop and Packers fall short, and that's what allows the entire NFC East to get in. Colts are 7 against Philly. Now this will be the time Philly comes back and squashes them, in my opinion. People just saw them play very poorly against the Commanders. People just saw the Colts. I think they won, didn't they? Or they won. Yeah, they beat the Raiders. Now they got Jeff Saturday. I think people are going to be taking them hard. And I think the Colts also finished with a low pick. And I'll tell you why. They're another team that would be interesting if they got Hendon Hooker. So if they were to finish with a bottom five pick, and Bryce is going to be the first quarterback taken, and not every team's going to need a quarterback, I think there's a good chance that the Colts might be able to land Hooker. So I don't have the Patriots in the playoffs. I think they're kind of like the Seahawks, where they're being positioned a little better than they are. I could be wrong, but I think the Dolphins are a much bigger draw. So Dolphins and Jets, in my opinion, the Jets have obviously Wilson. Their defense is a nice draw. They have a lot of electrifying players. The Dolphins have your Tua receiver combo, which is obviously a nice draw too. So I think for of those three teams, I just don't see the Patriots getting in. They might finish, with a close record. I think with the calculation I did, they finished 8-9. They were like the eighth or ninth team, so like they were just out of it. But I didn't have them getting in. Thank you. I do appreciate it, Snoopy. I do my best. Sometimes the quality's not great, but what happens is my data is so bad that I have to literally delete. It's nice I can use a computer. I have to delete apps from my phone just to do a video. Then I have to re-upload the app, and then re-upload YouTube, and then upload the video. So it's nice to have the computer, which I'll be using more in the future. Titans own the Bills. Yeah, the Titans could definitely. I don't know if they do. They is that the game this week? Or the Titans play? No, the Titans are playing the. Uh, Titans are playing Packers, right? I think if they play the Bills, that's a good upset game for sure. Uh, it's one of those Titans do it all the time. They almost did it against the Chiefs. They didn't upset them, but they did cover. And after the Virginia, yeah, you said something about young Dolph was killed on there. See, that's always yeah, Dolphin. There's so many Dolph in playing. There's so many commonalities and double meanings. Yeah, I'm using my laptop right now, Peter. It's like Windows 1 or something from like 10 years ago, but it still works pretty good, so I like it. But I'm gonna get something nicer when this is basically what I use to do my sales. This Wolf of Wall Street headset and this laptop. I think so. I couldn't imagine they're gonna have the home team of the Super Bowl win 3, 4 years in a row, which were 3 out of 4 years, which will have happened if the Raiders win the Super Bowl next year, right? Because you're gonna have the Bucks have done it, the Rams, then the Raiders. But it is interesting because you have this year's what's this year? Isn't this year the 75th year? Like they did the whole John Madden thing, or no, John Madden died. So I think that's interesting, and at the same time, I think it's interesting because they have uh, it's going to be in Vegas, the Super Bowl next year, of course, and I just think so many people betting on it. And then you have Gruden sitting this year out. I don't know what he's going to be doing next year. I think Carr might not be the quarterback, but it almost seems like they're setting them up to not do so great this year, but rebound next year. So I don't think they get in the playoffs or anything this year. They might even tank altogether and get a top pick. Maybe they get one of the quarterbacks. But yeah, I think there's a good chance the Raiders might do it next year because we know how they are with numerology and stuff like that. Yeah, well, I try and keep up. I'm hoping I'm keeping up with you guys. Like I said, if I miss something, that's my thing with Josh Allen. I don't think he's paid his dues yet. Mahomes, he paid some dues, then he put over Brady, and he still hasn't been back. So I just don't think Allen's paid his dues. Lamar, you can make the same argument, but I feel like he has. Don't forget that guy takes hits on a constant basis. I feel like that's paying dues in a different way because he really does get hit like hard a lot of times. Especially if you notice as a rookie, these guys get hit a lot harder than when they. It's kind of like wrestling. You can work stiff with younger guys, but Yeah, I don't think Allen's paid his dues yet. I really don't. I agree with that assessment. So you don't like the Timberwolves heading into Sixers. So I don't know when the T-Wolves play the Sixers, but I know tonight to play the Magic. I just don't know. I have the Sixers winning over the course of the season, but I don't think the Sixers are going to win like 60 games. I think they're going to win like 47, 48 games because I don't think they want it to be obvious. So to me, it makes sense that Sixers get in. They're not they might be like a 4 or 5 seed. They're not considered a top odds-on favorite like they were at the beginning of the season, and they wind up. Uh, I think they wind up taking the division by default. To be honest, looking at the Nets and the other teams, but yeah, I do think the Sixers get it. I think the Wolves get it together, but they finish more of as like a play-in team, and then they can explain why next year they'll be better. Yeah, I didn't know Derek Carr was a preacher, but I know his brother did not get a very good rap. That man was. A lot of people don't like David Carr, and listening to him, I'm not a fan. But I always say that guy was robbed out of a career. The amount of sacks that dude took was crazy. Nobody would have had a chance on that team. So yeah, if Derek Carr is a preacher and David probably was similar, there's a good chance they're just not going to let Derek Carr succeed. In which case, like I said, I can see them getting a quarterback. To me, that would make sense. No, 1 second, I'm just checking something. But yeah, so I think next year they might do something at the Raiders, but it's probably going to be contingent on Derek Carr. If Derek Carr is in, then I think they might not do as well. Once Derek Carr is out, I think they might actually start doing well. Yeah, so Ant, the problem with the Wolves, they might beat the Magic, but I have a very odd suspicion that the Magic might cover, just because it seems like a trap. Even though the Wolves haven't shown us that much, Banchero's not playing. I think Wendell Carter's not even playing, and he's been playing great for the Magic. So I think the Wolves should be bigger favorites, even in Orlando. So Wolves definitely could win. I just don't love them to cover. Um, I think so, Snoopy. I think they're pushing Russ. I think it's just in a different way. I think they want it to be secretly. Everybody has him out now, and he kind of still has this like SpongeBob like attitude in his interviews, like I'm ready, we got this, next week, let's go. And it's different than these other quarterbacks who basically are talking like, yep, we'll get it done next week. He's saying it like he means something. He even told the press something to the effect of, "You don't know what I know." Like he's telling us. So I think Russ actually finishes. Yeah, Adams will lose another quarterback. Finally, get one that's quote competent, and for him at least, and I think they'll do good with without Carr. But yeah, I think Russ is going to get a silent push. I think that loss in people's mind was almost like a gut punch for Bronco fans. Okay, now they're out. But again, when I did my simulator, and you guys can do it too. You can see there's so many ways for the Broncos to get in where they don't need to do anything crazy. They just need like the Patriots to lose games they should lose, the Chargers to lose games they should lose. And I have the Chargers beating the Chiefs this week. I know that has been covered, or next week. Uh, I think that just makes sense. I think it's a trap, and I think Chargers beat the Chiefs. It explains why they're going to be in the hunt. But even with all that, the Broncos still get in with my predictions. And I gave them some losses that I think they're going to get. I didn't just make them win out, but they can win. I think they can lose two and still get in with relatively, like I said, normal results from the other teams. Warriors conference finals. I'm going to say no, only because I think the Suns are going to. I see. I don't know. Do they give Luca revenge against them? It could be Blazers Warriors. It could be Clippers Warriors. I would never rule them out, but I do think they're going to be a red herring that loses in like the second round, and it's going to be Dre's last year at the team. So I, I think I think there's a good chance Golden State loses in the second round. They'll probably run through like the Wolves or whoever's in there in the first round. But I think in the second round, a team like the Pelicans might beat them. You might see that Suns rivalry in the second round. The Suns beat them, they advance, and then it's Suns Blazers or Suns Clippers, something to that effect. Uh, but I think that's the reason neither are going to win the division. It gives us a reason for the Warriors to play the Suns in the playoffs, without them both being in the conference finals. So to me, that's what makes sense. Yeah. Oh no, you can ask all the questions you want. That's what keeps these going. I think Rogers. I think they're shaming him, even with this win. I think they were shaming him, but between the haircut, like I said before, it was like he slept with every owner's wife or something. Because between the haircut and the way he was acting was just ridiculous. The guy does not play that bad. And then they're saying it's the system. It's these young receivers. These guys were getting open. It wasn't like it was they were running the wrong routes. He was just overthrowing people, taking bad sacks. And then against Dallas, you see him galloping up and down the field. So again, I think he's a red herring. I think he's going to keep people engaged, win games like this week against the Titans, but I just don't think it's going to be enough. But yeah, and then that's part of the shaming. He gets there and finishes just that close and gets knocked out, kind of like Chris Paul against Luca. They're both State Farm guys. They got their contracts. So yeah, I think that's what happens with Rodgers. I don't see him. I don't think he gets in the playoffs. I think Week 18 he has a chance, and I think another team winning knocks him out. Yeah, the Chiefs. I think that too. It just makes sense with the Chargers. Yeah, the Broncos have such an easy schedule. They just really have to split a KC series and then really worry about Baltimore. That's what I was looking at, Mello. People look at the records, but I'm looking more at just the paths, and the Broncos have a nice path. Bears or Falcons? I don't think either, to be honest, because I don't think the wild card. Oh, they're playing each other. Are you asking me who wins? I was gonna say I don't think either gets in. Uh, the Hawks and Suns. So I'm doing for actually I'm doing a leg three, and that's the Miami Heat. So let me just recap my football pick, my basketball picks real quick. That way, everyone can lock in their picks. To cap it off, like I said, for college basketball, I am fading Houston. I believe they're giving 30 and a half, so I'm going to take the 30 and a half and South Texas, whoever it is. I have a leg three. That's going to be the Heat. I like the Heat over the Raptors. My leg two is go. We are going to have the Hawks on a leg two. I think the Hawks beat the Celtics, and then the other ones I have are leg ones, and I do have the Bulls winning. I think the Bulls cover. Sorry, I have the Bulls covering. I have the Suns, and I'm looking for over unders, and I have the Mavericks. So those are my picks. Mavericks, Suns, and the good thing is most of these are like straight up. The Mavericks are the only ones that really have to cover along Pelicans. Yeah, the Pelicans. I think the Bulls upset them. I do. I think the Bulls pull off the upset. Yeah, yeah, Bulls. Yeah, you could take the spread. When it's 1.5, a lot of times I'll take the money line, but go ahead. Like I'll say, go ahead and take the 1.5. I took the 1.5. I think you're referring to the Heat, right? For the 1.5. I think they're giving 1.5. If they're getting it, I would take the money line so you get better odds. But if you're giving it, we've seen 1 point losses, so never hurts. Yeah, I think people are going to be fading them for that reason. Q. I think a lot of people are on Q Rose. I think a lot of people are going to be fading the Suns because they're going to see Chris Paul's not playing, not thinking about Cameron Payne, not thinking about much really. They're just going to look at the fact that the Warriors just washed them. I think the Suns need to win this game. Uh, it's not a must win, but I think it's a very important win, setting up this playoff narrative for the Suns. So I am very confident in the Suns over the Warriors in this game. Warriors coming off a very strong win as well, so it makes sense to give the Suns a win after a tough loss. Yeah, the spread on the Bulls 1.5. That's good. Yeah, I would do the 1.5. I thought they were getting. If they're ever getting, I go with the money line. If they're giving, if it's like 2.5, sometimes I'll buy it down. But the 1.5, just for the extra odds, I don't know if it's worth taking the money line. I would just, yeah, you're getting the 1.5. Then I would just do the money line. Honestly, I think that they either win or they don't. I don't think it's good. They're going to lose by one. Oh, were they getting that would have been nice. Yeah. So I didn't see it that early. But yeah, the 4.5 would have been nice, obviously. But like I said, I still think a lot of people are going to like what they saw out of the Pels, and The Bulls have been doing this a lot this year. They've been winning games that where they've lost a few as well, but more often than not, they're winning the games where they're either being faded, rightfully so, or they're just going away playing a tough team, and the odd looks kind of trappish. So I do like the Bulls either way. And when they move the lines like that, also it's a lot of times it's also indicative of a team. Vegas might know something. So yeah, I still do have faith in the Heat without Harrow. I still do have faith in the Suns with if Paul's not playing. Cameron Payne can really light it up. He comes in, he's like JP for the Warriors. He can really light it up. So actually, I think Cameron Payne and JP get a little bit of it. We saw Booker and Thompson getting into it. I think this game, maybe Payne goes off on JP, and we see a little bit of a rivalry there. And they're going to basically get all these rivalries going. Okay, Phoenix, that's fine. Like I said, I have a couple second legs anyway. The Heat was the one I trusted the most, so I made that my third leg of our loss yesterday. But there's going to be some second legs. But yeah, you can make Phoenix a second leg. I like them as a second leg. There's it's a metric that I like, and I think they're going to be faded pretty hard. Yeah, I think that's what happens, Don. You'll have certain players go off, and then the next game they don't do as well. I'm thinking the Pelicans kind of had that happens. I don't think their threes hit the way they did. That's another reason I'm fading them. And for the Suns, I think Cameron Payne, Bridges, I think they get back on track. Yeah, the away team narrative. That's another thing. You know, the thing is, I think a lot of people don't account for Golden State, uh, the Golden State, and this Phoenix Suns. They're that how good they are. They just look at the fact that they're at home, and in my opinion, I think they're going to try and explain away again. The public's not going to really care about that. They're just going to be going with the Warriors, but I think they're going to explain away. Come here, Shayna. Shayna. Sorry, I thought it was my doggy. I think they're going to explain away why the Warriors lose is because they're playing in the Valley. They've been talking about this Valley matchup for a couple days now. So to me, it just makes sense. Cam being out, I think he's been out for, if I'm not mistaken, he's been out for a few games now, and I'm not certain he's going to. I don't think he's a complete difference maker. I'm curious to see. Yeah, I'm curious to see what happens with because as far as I know, they never got rid of Crowder, right? I'm curious to see what they did with Crowder. I remember he like wasn't showing up because he wasn't starting. I wouldn't be surprised if he just randomly showed up one game. But yeah, I think Cam makes a small difference. But I think Bridges at home. I really think when JP went off last game they played, I remember thinking like it was like an eternal message. I was thinking I think there's a good chance that the that next game Payne's going to be the one who comes through and has a really good game, and now Chris Paul just happens to be injured. So to me, it makes sense that the Suns play strong. Like I said, they're coming off a tough loss. They just played a game on the road. Now they're playing at home. So I think a lot of people are 105, 134 Suns. Didn't they just play? Who did they just lose to? I thought they. I'm getting my games mixed up. I thought they just played the Heat and lost. I could be mixing up teams, but yeah, I thought they just recently played the Heat and lost in uh, in Miami. But I just like I said, okay, the Warriors. Oh, you talking about the last time they played the Warriors? Yeah, the you had Booker really upset with the Suns. Basically saying we got the four rings. Montreal, yeah. Zach Miles came through on that one. He basically he said the Toronto Maple Leafs are a lock. So we got that. That was nice because like I said, I know nothing about hockey, but at least you're able to split them. The Heat 112, 113. That's what I thought. Yeah. So I think the Suns come back and get a win at home, and especially at home against the Warriors, just so people think. Again, Booker was getting really upset last time. So, or not Booker, Clay Thompson, and Booker and him are going back and forth. I just think it makes sense that the Suns pull this one out. They play several times, don't forget. So the Warriors will probably take the next one. But to me, it makes sense to start the Suns off strong. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with using the Hawks as a second leg. Like I said, I was saving, so I'm doing Miami. There's a couple I'm saving as second legs. For example, I really like Green Bay. So, but I mean, we can always do them as a third leg. So there's nothing wrong with doing the Hawks as a second leg. So you can go ahead and lock that in. I'm going to go over mine in a minute and see which ones I have as second legs and lock them in. Yeah, there's a lot of money on the Warriors. There's always they're the team. I did a poll not that long ago, basically saying which team should always be a favorite no matter who they're playing, and 77% of people picked the Warriors. So there's always going to be money on them. I would not honestly 2 points. I know in that type of game, I would take the 2 points. I honestly would. I think the 2 points might happen in that game. Yeah, the Heat would normally scare me, Eric. The only reason I really like them is because the metric. Uh, they're doing so abysmal against the spread that if they are to lose this leg three, I'm going to take them at a leg four. Oh yeah, the other thing is the last game between the Warriors and Suns was a blowout, so very good chance this one's a 2 point game. So I would take the 2 points over the money line, Steven. Uh, was their last game 1 point game, or are you talking about the Suns Heat? Suns Heat was 1 point, yeah. The Warriors blew them out, so got blown out. So I would take the 2 points. Warriors Suns Heat again. I just like them because I'm not sure. I know Siakam's out, but I think they get off that horrible spread where they're 3-11 or something of that regard. So I'm not sure who each of them plays this week. I have the chart. Okay, I have. I see. I actually have the Patriots winning at home, and I have the Chargers winning. So that was another thing I was going into with the Jets and Patriots. I have the Patriots beating the Jets this week, but I still have the Jets getting in the playoffs and not the Patriots. So again, as you can see, I didn't like do any ridiculous simulations. I literally just picked who I thought would win each week. And this week I have the Patriots beating the Jets. I think it's a trap game. Now, if I'm not mistaken, they just won in New York, so there is that chance of it bouncing back the other way. I feel more strongly in the Chiefs Chargers. I like the Chargers. I can tell you that. I think they need the Chargers to win to keep things interesting. Okay, you got an extra point. That's nice. I would take that second point. Yeah, no Bam's not good. The good thing is Deadman does play really well. Caleb Martin will step up sometimes and play bigger than he is. And again, I don't think they need to explain away much. Toronto, without Siakam, they really are a different team. They can get the shooting going, but I do think Miami, since they're they call it the culture, but it really is the culture of the team. I think that they find a way to win. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a big win to kind of solidify that the Heat haven't gone anywhere. But yeah, I don't like when Bam's out. He's definitely somebody that being out, you can explain away a lot of shenanigans, but I still think they have enough depth to cover it. Yeah, if you already locked in the money line, that's okay. Like I said, I'm not saying that 2 points is like gospel. I just with this type of game, a game two, I wouldn't be surprised if the 2 points wound up helping. So nothing wrong with the money line. And like I said, we have good leg threes in store anyway. I usually, if you notice, I'll try and save the leg threes for football because I do think there's like one football game a week that we can almost bank on. But I do like Miami a lot. I know it's a scary one, but I think it's scary for a reason. I think a lot of people are going to be taking the Raptors, whether it's because Bam's out or because the Heat are on back to backs or the Raptors just lost. People are expecting a bounce back. Whatever the reason may be, I just don't see the Heat starting on that metric. So now they're 3.5, again 3.5. Yeah, I think so. That one's going back and forth. So they did seem to move a little bit more on as far as the Bam being out. Bam being out seemed to move. You could. The Warriors are a third quarter team usually, but they could win the first. The Suns typically, when they win games though, they typically get ahead. So I wouldn't. It's up to you. I just it's not one I love. Um, the Jags, I liked them at the beginning of the year. I thought they were going to win the division. Even a few weeks ago when they were a couple games out, I still had them winning the division. But at this point, I don't think they care that much about Trevor Lawrence, or they're waiting to get him some players. Yeah, first and especially the third. The third they painted that narrative all year. If the Warriors do bad in the third quarter, then you could basically bet they're going to lose, unless they're up by like 40 already. But yeah, the Jags, I think they just nothing special. They might spoil a game or two, but I don't think they finish close to in the hunt. I think they'll be mathematically, and I hate to say it, but I think they'll be mathematically eliminated by week 16, 15. By then, I think you're going to have teams like the Chargers, Colts, Patriots, Jets all vying for the spot, Broncos, and I just don't think the Jags are going to be in it. Same with the Browns. A couple teams I thought would be in it later on in the season looked like they won't be. Saints are another one on the other side. I thought they'd be in it till at least week 16 or so. I think they'll be out pretty soon too. Well, I could be wrong. Only because I think they would have pushed Trevor Lawrence. They could have given him a win over the Giants. That would have been a big win. They could have given him a couple wins, and they just didn't. So I don't know at this point what wins they're going to give them to justify getting them into the playoffs. It seems like they've established the Titans as at least for one more year as that team's the leader of that division. Uh, yeah, the like I said, the Miami move, little, I don't love it when a team I pick starts getting, I think I had him at 1.5. Now they get him 3.5. Sometimes you wonder, does that mean Vegas knows something? But like I said, I'm just going to go with the official against the spread metric. It's been extremely good. Mike, so the Canes, don't they play? They just played Florida State, right? That was or no, they played Virginia Tech, I think. I know we picked them like 3 weeks in a row. So the Canes are a perfect example of what I'm doing with the Heat. They started off like 1-7 or 1-8 against the spread. So me and Mike were like, we're just gonna keep taking them. So we took them for a leg two, and then they finally came through last week for us on a leg three. So that's what I'm doing with the Miami Heat. We're taking them tonight because they didn't cover last night, and then the next leg is going to be a leg four, which again I usually use discretion, but I'm definitely going to go with the Heat again to cover the spread in their next game, specifically if it's a home game. Should they not cover tonight? But I'm not sure about the Hurricanes, Mike. I think that cover might be all they're getting. Okay, Steve. So we might be seeing a lot of live action on because believe it or not, at the end of the day, yeah, it's gonna be close. It's gonna be a close game. That's why points never hurt. If it's like one, I'll take the money line for odds. But when it's like 2, 3 points, that could be crucial in a game like this. So I agree. I think it's a close game. Miami, I don't know, Mike. I think we might want to quit while we're ahead. We got our double up back when they covered. I'm not sure they do it again. They're such a weird team. I've never seen a team completely stop a team on offense. They get to midfield and then they can't move the ball. They get four overtimes and they get two. They get 1 2 point conversion. It's pretty laughable how good their defense is and how bad their offense is. Yeah, the injury news makes a difference, and then you also get some games. Vegas, like I said, Vegas just they don't really care too much. They just want even odds. If they get the even odds, they might have narratives, but they're just gonna, in my opinion, let live betting determine who wins. And I just think, like I said, with the metric being the way it is, I do think that the Heat wind up getting that win. Yeah, so the Canes are a big underdog. Yeah, you can ride unders under Boston and Atlanta. I did fade their over last game. So we can officially add that. I'm not going to take it as like a second or third leg. But yeah, I was going to take them again. So that'll be my over under pick for the game for the day. Under Boston. I think that game goes under. Again, not that they can't start 10-4. It's just again, they always do wind up evening out where even your teams that go over the most are usually like in like the 60% column. So yeah, I do like the fading the over there. So I don't even know the spread, but I'm gonna take the when I get off. I'm gonna make my picks in a few minutes, but I'm gonna take the under on Boston now that Peter brought that up because it definitely makes sense. So yeah, Chris, I went into college in the beginning. There's a bunch of teams I like. So only one of them plays tonight. It's Houston, and I like fading them because I don't think they start 4-0 against the spread. But if you want to hear some of the teams we'll be taking between now and Friday, I like to cover spreads. This is specifically to cover spreads. Florida State Boston College, Arizona, TCU, Georgia, North Carolina. So you can see I have picks locked and loaded. I'm fading Houston tonight. I'm fading Mississippi State, and then I got some over unders. But they again, only one of them plays tonight, so that's the only reason I didn't do a video on the college basketball. But yeah, those teams that are 3-0 or 0-3 on the spread, I definitely want to fade or take the ones that are 0-3. So yeah, I like the under on Boston. Another thing to consider is a lot of people are going to pound the over because look at the last game; it was like 280 points scored or something. So people are going to be pounding the over. That's another reason that those metrics balance out. It's not like Vegas cares to balance them out. It's just it does look suspicious if a team goes undefeated against the spread, and at the same time, if a team is losing enough against the spread or going over enough, the public's going to start picking the over because again, they're not thinking it's rigged. They're just going to think these two teams score and play shitty defense. So I like the under on Boston. Yeah, fade means the opposite. So if I say I'm fading the over, it means I'm taking the under. Fading, if I'm fading tonight, I'm fading, for example, the Pelicans. Tonight, I'm fading the Celtics. So it means I'm taking the Bulls, all that, etc. Uh, so yeah, fade just means we're taking the opposite team. And the reason I say fade is because there's times I genuinely don't know what the over is, but I'm going just off a metric or like the Heat. I don't know who they're playing after tonight, but I'm going to be fading their next opponent. Yeah. Yep, Mike. Fade means they don't cover, whether it be the team, the under, over, a player prop. Zags money line. I see a lot of people talking about Gonzaga. Are they playing tonight? I guess. Let me look into the Gonzaga. That's the thing. I don't know the narratives with NBA basketball, or I'm sorry, college basketball, and I haven't really seen much yet. So like I don't know. Literally, Bronny James is the only player I know. So Mike and MVP, are they the one you're saying Zags? Let's look. I'm guessing it's got to be college. Okay, they're playing Texas here. I see. So they're playing Texas in Texas. What's the spread on that game? The ESPN won't open up for my thing. I take it it's got to be relatively close, or yeah, if they're put 2.5, it seems. Oh, Lex, what's up? How you doing? Uh, if I had to, like, I don't want to just start throwing out random advice 'cause I know nothing about either of these teams. But if they're starting off Zaga smart, strong, and Texas is at home here earlier on in the season, both teams highly ranked, then I could imagine more people being on Texas. I could be wrong, but yeah, it sounds like you guys know what you're talking about. Like Zaga should definitely be favored here. It doesn't really change much between this and football. If a team that should be favored isn't, it's usually a red flag. Yeah, what's up, Lex? I'm glad you came along, man. Always like seeing you in the chat. Michigan State beat Kentucky. I got a yeah, Daddy. Yeah, Daddy losing son winning. Yeah, that's pretty interesting actually. I'm curious to see what they do with LeBron and Bronny. How good Bronny does and how bad LeBron does. That'd be interesting. Because I think he's paying some penance right now for when his son gets in the league. The only college basketball team I picked on was Houston. And I didn't pick them. I faded them. So I went with I think it was North Texas or South Texas getting 30.5, simply because Houston's 3-0 on the spread, and with what 25, 30 college games, there's not that many. So I'm gonna start fading the teams that are 3-0, 4-0, 5-0 on the spread until we don't have any more zeros. Usually, believe it or not, they'll fizzle out pretty quick. Same with ones who haven't covered the spread. But yeah, in this case, the only game I saw was Houston. That was 3-0 on the spread. So I'm fading them. Not the money line, of course, just taking them not to cover. So the Knicks, Brandon, it wasn't that like I knew they were going to win. I would like to say like, oh, I told you, but there's times I'm right, there's times I'm wrong. More often than not, we are over the target. To me, that was just a game where you had two evenly matched teams, rigged or not rigged. The Knicks are getting a nice little push this year. They just invested a lot of money in Brunson, and the Jazz traded away a lot of their team, so they could try and keep them competitive. But I just don't think they're going to finish even in the playoffs. Like their record right now, to me, is just an illusion. They want people to think they're better than they are. That's just my opinion. I think like the Wolves wind up flipping them, for example. And I think at home, Utah, people just were, okay, the Knicks are an average team. This is a layup. So that's what I call like a parlay killer, where I think a lot of people probably had Utah money line in their parlay. That's why I really like the Knicks in that game. And there's going to be other games I like the Knicks in too. I know they play the Nuggets tonight. I am staying away from it simply because, again, they just beat the Jazz. So I try and stick away from taking the same team twice in a row because, though they will argue that they're tired, they just played a game. And two spoils would be tough. Uh, at the same time, everyone's going to be on Denver still, I think. I think people still are looking at the Knicks as an average, below average team. So I'm not playing the Nuggets game, but the reason I like them against the Jazz is because I know the Jazz aren't the Nuggets. I know they're not going to portray them like the Nuggets. So losing to the Knicks is not something people are really going to notice. But at the same time, there's probably a lot of money on the Jazz. So yeah, that's why I liked the Knicks yesterday, Brandon. Of all the upsets, that one I liked it the most. Though you can call the Hawks an upset, it was only a couple points. The Knicks was more of a true upset. I think it was closer to like 5.5. Uh, Michigan 7-7 and Kansas money line last night. Yeah, I have to get on the college basketball because I really I don't know anything. Alls I can say is at the beginning of the year. Oh, no problem, Brandon. That and I noticed other people were kind of saying like more same thing. Like public action was on Utah, so that's why they like the Knicks. I like them for the narrative. I think they're a playing team this year, so I think they're going to beat a lot of teams. Uh, they have the Christmas game. They're showing the odds already, and they have the Knicks 2.5 favorite, or yeah, they're only getting 2.5, so they're on 2.5 underdogs against the Celtics. I think it is. Now they shouldn't have known this schedule was set up a month or two ago, and those lines are the same as they were a month or two ago. So I find it revealing that back months ago, the NBA knew the Knicks Celtics game was going to be competitive. So when I saw that, it also made me feel like, oh, the Knicks are going to do a little better this year than people think. Stay above 500 because that Christmas game to me just kind of gave away the script. Yeah, Gonzaga, Texas. You guys know way more than me. Um, yeah, Mike, I agree. I think Knicks Nuggets. After the Knicks just played, it's smart to stay away from it. See what happens with the game, and then maybe we take the Knicks in the next one. But it's just a tough one. I think after getting the Jazz, I'm gonna just lay low on that one. I know I think Don brought it up, and a few others did. Just a little recap. So just so so anyone that might have just tuned in or missed it. For college basketball, Houston's playing tonight. That's the only game that I like fading them. Again, it's like South Texas. Just look for Houston and fade the 30.5. I think it is South Texas. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I do like that. And then for the NBA, I do officially like Atlanta. In this game, it's a money line game. We're getting one, so you might as well pick the money line. I do like the Heat to cover the spread, so I'm picking them to cover. And I do like the Bulls as an upset. I like the under as well on the Celtics. So the Celtics Hawks game, I have the Hawks winning and the under. I have the Mavericks covering that 8 point spread. I think they bounce back, and I like the Suns. So I just wanted to recap that one more time, just so you have all my picks in case you missed them before. Shaq Suns on TCU, they cover 30. Yeah. So you think or TSU? Okay. So yeah, I could be wrong. Like so Houston is oh, Texas Southern. Okay, cool. I did not know his son was there, but that's cool. That makes me feel better. I don't know, Brandon. Uh, I really don't know. Um, but yeah, real quick, MP5. That's awesome because I just picked them not knowing who they were, so it's good to see that they're actually uh they have Shaq's son to boot. So yeah, that makes me feel more confident. Houston doesn't cover. I don't know, Brandon. I mean, some people I think they think it's rigged to an extent, but they think somehow like a rogue official is the guy getting it done, or like one coach. I don't think people are thinking like we are, like it's WWE. They say stuff like, "Oh, I had friends who played in college. Well, so did I, and I can tell you that I think once you reach a certain level, you sign NDAs and things like that. But I just don't think that uh, seeing what I see, I don't think that both teams wouldn't be able to be in on it. We've seen the magnetic field goals. You think a kicker doesn't know if his field goal is gonna, you know, get kicked out? And if he did notice it, he'd say something. And they're not for a reason. So, yeah, magnets. You said it right when I was bringing it up. These kickers would say, "Hey, my fucking ball just got gravitationally kicked out," but they're not. The NBA players aren't saying, "Hey, my three-pointer is looking smooth, as smooth as it ever has, but I got booted out." Defensive backs aren't saying, "Hey, I had my hand on that ball, but it just seemed to suction right into the receiver's hands." So that's how we know it's not just referees and coaches. That's how we know it's the players themselves because they would have to notice it. If you're playing against somebody, you shoot a ball, you get an open shot in basketball and it just gets kicked out, or your free throw especially, gets stuck on the rim. You're gonna know if that shot was a good shot. People know their shots the second they release them. And same thing with football. Like if you're defending a guy and the ball just suctions into his hands, and you put a lick on him and he just held on to it, you know. So yeah, the play. I'm not saying they're all in on it, but they would have to be stupid not to be. Like if we're noticing it, then how are the players not noticing it? So that's what makes me feel like most of them. I think corks. I think that's why whenever there's a broken bat, we see a cork, and then like the player gets in trouble. Quote in trouble. I think they do have some type of magnets. I do have a theory on the field goals. A lot of people think it's the field goal post, but I disagree. Think about it. Why do we need a field goal net? Right? Why not give the fans a souvenir? I think the field goal net is like atomically charged, so the net is what actually draws in the field goal, the ball. I could be wrong, and I think they have the same type of deal with baseball parks. I think they could have like magnetic waves, like poles, things of that nature that balls carry. Even Judge even pointed it out against the Astros. Said their balls seem to carry, but yeah, I think I think the net behind the field goal post, and it makes more sense because that's the center of it, right? So, like putting magnets on one end of the post wouldn't really make it too much of a difference. Yeah, you could put it on both ends, but I think putting it in the net makes more sense. Yeah, exactly. I mean, look at all the players just in just starting, and then you factor in all the practice squad. There's so many people, and they're going to pick the ones that are going to do what they're told to do. So, if you have a guy that's just keeping his mouth shut, they're definitely going to go with that person. Yeah, so the pick there is TSOU plus 31 and a half. Just because Houston's 3-0 on the spread. So I think they're going to fall to 3-1. And if they go to 4-0, I'll fade them again next game. Good thing about college basketball is there's not a ton of games like the NBA. So we can kind of get in earlier on those metrics. Oh yeah, Creaky. It's crazy how every freaking tape of proof of the magnetic rims has been wiped off the internet, and nobody questions it. But yeah, it's just I appreciate it, Don. I just try and I could be completely wrong about this stuff, but I just take things other people put out there and have conveyed themselves, and I just try and elaborate. But yeah, so like Creaky's saying, when you shoot a basketball, it goes. There's one trajectory on the ball, right? So when you're seeing a ball that's like left suddenly curve and go right, that's not from the person shooting. Nobody's going to shoot the ball and say, "Let me shoot a slider." I think it'll look cool if it curves in. They're not bowling. So again, it's just ridiculous when you see these shots where the ball's definitely short. They had some really clear ones of Zion. I don't know. I think Creaky, you might have seen that video where this ball was short by like 2 feet, and then it just kind of picks up. And you'll notice when they miss their free throws, especially Luca, he's the worst at this. They purposely miss, like they brick it off the front of the rim. And I don't know why they do that. Like I know why they do it because if you arc it, that's when the magnet can catch the ball. If you brick it off the front of the rim, that's not going to happen. but it just looks so damn obvious when Luka's bricking threes and they're all right off the front of the rim. It's because then the magnet's not going to catch it. I don't know how far they go with the magnets, to be honest, but they're definitely used, I think, for many times. And and as like you said, Creaky, that any kind of replay has either been they change the camera angle, they they just wipe it completely. Yeah, playoff games you probably see way more of the magnets because they need, if a team loses in the regular season, they can make them get it back. If there's a mistake, they can get it back. Way less in the playoffs, way less chance for error, or way shorter leash. You can't make mistakes. Yeah, they look like sliders. These kicks. It's ridiculous. Like there's no way a guy kicks a ball, and his even if he's trying to compensate for the wind, he's not going to kick it with like a spin on his foot. And you're seeing these kicks going in the motions of screwballs, and it just would not happen. And now they're trying to explain like away, saying in some cases the ball was tipped, which in a lot of cases it was, but even ones that aren't tipped, that they should not be going in. If the Commanders kicker, a career long 55, and then he kicks two screwballs for 56 and 56 to break the record, his record in the same night. So I just don't think those things could happen. Yeah, the Globetrotters. Like, look what the Globetrotters get away with, right? So look at all the times that LeBron travels. Look at all the times that these players travel, and that's what we see. Imagine what we don't see, because the referees can move the cameras and make it look slick, so a player can travel, and a player can do whatever he wants, and take 5 steps, and whatever the case may be. And because of their camera angles, you don't see players missing assignments. You don't see obvious penalties, and it's like wrestling. They can make Undertaker show up in 3 seconds and in a poof of smoke, because of smart camera angles, make it look like a guy's head got knocked off because of a camera angle. The NFL has the same technology, so they show us like what they'll flash away when something obvious is happening, like some guy missing an assignment, and then they'll flash back just to show the half a second highlight, but you can't really dissect it. Vikings might go all the way. I think the Vikings have a good chance to go into the NFC Championship. I don't know if they go all the way. Uh, they definitely could. They're one of those red herring teams. I personally just love the Jimmy G comeback story, but to me, the Vikings definitely could do it. People keep sleeping on them. Yeah, the Euro step. They explain the Euro step away. When AI did it, it was against Michael Jordan, so that you know then it was traveling, and they banned the move. But yeah, they call it a Euro step, and it's clearly a travel. I mean, let's be honest. They do it with a lot of different the step backs. You'll see a lot of step backs where they travel. They're not going to call it. And when they call the fouls, there's no contact on so many of them. And now they have this bullshit coaches challenge where there'll be an obvious one that should be reviewed, but the coach won't challenge it. And then one like later in the game, it means nothing. The team's up 17 points, and Greg Popovich did it the other night, and then they challenge some ridiculous call that winds up screwing the over under. So adding this stupid coaches challenging a discretionary call to me is just more proof that it's rigged. You shouldn't be able to challenge a discretionary call. Uh, yeah, the extra point. Yeah, it's funny actually because it seems like the closer they are, it screws up. I saw on multiple occasions this year when they were like in really close field goal range, them take delay of games so they can see they quote see the field goal post better. I wonder if the closer they are, it's harder to get that magnetic, to get it to arc. Good chance it could just kind of get a reverse effect and bounce right off the crossbar. Yeah, the Tucker one, that's as Hollywood as you get. He does have long yardage, so again, you need. This is the thing. It's just like wrestlers. If a wrestler's going to jump from one side of the ring to the other, he needs the athleticism to do that. You can't just throw some guy in there and say, "Do it." We'll edit everything. So you need a kicker who's accurate, who can get it close enough so the magnets will pick it up, and who can boot the ball. So Justin Tucker, all these kickers, all these players that are really getting this ridiculous stuff to happen, they have skill, 100%. The NFL definitely wants the most skilled players because they want it to look realistic. It wouldn't look realistic if it was a bunch of Tom Brady looking guys running around. They get away with Tom Brady, but you get my point. So yeah, I think they definitely Tucker's got talent, but at the end of the day, they're going to make sure that got over the crossbar. You know, maybe a worse kicker wouldn't have got it over, but in certain situations, they're going to make sure they get what they need. If he didn't, a penalty would have been called or something, I'm sure. Yeah, I didn't even know. I thought they were fighting. Usually they announce the fight and it happens like a year later. I wish I could have put every dime on him to beat Silva. I just didn't know exactly when they were fighting, which would have been nice because obviously that we knew Silva was going to take a dump. They call, yeah, they that's the thing. Same with holding on offense. Yeah, they can literally control every single play. Same with the take foul. Yeah, I mean, you see that one more at the end of games, and then they decide whether it's a take foul or a common foul, and you can just see the referees getting more of a say in the entire thing. The referees are really getting, they can just in the NFL they throw a flag, they all huddle together and completely change the call, and then they won't even tell you why they threw the flag. So I think it's just becoming way more blatant than it was before. That there's no reason that should be happening, but it is, unfortunately. So maybe it'll start waking people up. Bills, the Queen City. Yeah, Buffalo. I think it's interesting. I think, like I said, I think they go to the AFC Championship. Allen might have paid his dues. I just don't know if he quite paid them yet, as was pointed out earlier. He definitely, Mahomes hadn't done anything crazy when he won his Super Bowl, but he still put Brady over the year next, and he still hasn't even won. I think Allen might wind up actually over Hurts. I could be wrong. Allen might win MVP, and they'll lose in the AFC Championship, and then Eagles will have the best record, and that's why they'll lose. The Magic. I remember the field goal he missed. It was Yeah, you'll see that all the time. This guy's made his last 39 kicks. This guy's never missed one under 45. Et cetera, yada yada yada, and then they miss. And now they're even joking about it, like, "Oh yeah, see, it was a." They'll laugh, like the one guy will say it, and then the other announcer will be like, "Yeah, you jinxed him," and then they'll laugh like it's some big joke. But yeah, they definitely don't do that on accident. Whenever they bring up those stats, they never come to fruition. It's always the opposite. Mikey, I wound up going with the Suns. I think way more money is going to be on the Warriors. The Suns just played a tough game on the road, so I think a lot of people are going to be fading them. And I think the Suns need to look strong. People know the Warriors; they just won the thing. I think people need to know the Suns are still the same Suns as they were. And without Chris Paul, I think Cameron Payne has a really good game. Oh my gosh, watching Allen hurdle the freaking, yeah, maybe there's magnets in their fucking shoes or something because watching him hurdle the safety, yeah, the safety just dove on the ground. This is like against the Chiefs a couple weeks ago, but it's just so ridiculous. They make these guys look way more athletic than they are. Um, the biggest offender is Daniel Jones. This man runs like a 4.7, and he is sprinting past safeties. He's like four guys have him wrapped up in the backfield, and he's Houdini. He's suddenly Houdini getting his way out of there. So yeah, Daniel Jones and Josh Allen are the biggest outliers as far as not outliers, the biggest offenders as far as unathletic guys looking like George Blanda came back and decided to morphosize with Michael Vick and create an offspring because they just should not be running like this. And then other games, they'll get completely stuffed as they should. Yeah, the number one pick's interesting, Don. They did that with remember they did with the Sixers for a while. Somebody asked me to do a video on this like a long time ago, so now I feel like it'd be fitting because more people are into it. But basically, all the first round picks the Sixers got, folks, Ben Simmons, obviously Embiid worked out. Who else did they get? They got like three or four in a row, and then basically they all busted. So I don't think that stuff's a coincidence. Certain teams getting first round picks, or and then they bust. I think certain markets are just doomed. To be honest, uh, Dwight Howard might be the closest the Magic, get in a very very long time. I remember watching him, and the fan base loved him. He had a good supporting role, and even that wasn't enough. So Banchero, I think he gets over, but I do wonder if they do anything with the Magic. Allen, I don't know. I think they make him look like a freak of nature. I mean, watch wrestling. A lot of guys look like freaks of nature. This guy does not run that fast. Again, the hurdle. If you watch back the Kansas City hurdle, The safety literally dove at his feet. If he tried that against, just imagine, okay, Josh Allen's the same size and build as Ben Roethlisberger, and their college 40 is roughly the same. Imagine Ben hurdling Ray Lewis. You're probably laughing in your head right now, imagining Ben being stretchered off the field. There's no way Josh Allen would be able to do that. He's. I could see the argument with Russell because he's quick. I could see the argument with certain guys. Steve Young could actually run. Daniel Jones and Allen, they're just not fast. They're not athletic. They take one goofy step and everyone like falls down. Yeah, and I feel like the same would happen with these linebackers today. Even average linebackers that run 4.5s, they're like 250. They shouldn't be getting hurdled. Safeties maybe, but I don't know. When I see hurdles, even Manning was joking. He was laughing, saying they never let me hurdle anybody. And like when they were showing the hurdle, maybe he hurdled them. I just feel like, again, a quarterback that's running like a 4.6, 4.7. It's not like he's Lamar and he ran like a 4.3. I just don't understand how. Yeah, that's another thing. You're going to see Allen. He's not going to be running like he was years ago. You're already seeing Russell. Now, Russell's a guy, yes, I could see him running, juking somebody out. I just can't see it with Daniel Jones and Allen and some quarterbacks. They just run very slow, very goofy. But yeah, that's a good point. Allen probably not going to go too long. Yeah, he'll be in a wheelchair if he tries too many more hurdles. At least if it was realistic. I just can't really imagine you know Josh Allen hurdling players and not getting hurt. Unless it's scripted. And when I saw the one, again, the dude was diving right down, like just a horrible angle, just giving Allen the perfect chance to hurdle him. I just I wonder where these people forget. Like in high school, we're taught how to tackle. No, and nowhere do they say, "Take care, Creaky. I'm glad you're." I'm going to be getting off in a few minutes too. The games are about to start, and I wanted to get all the picks out. And I didn't realize we've been on this long, but yeah, I don't want to keep you guys too long anyway. But today's best NBA player, I'd go Luca for two reasons: A, the numbers, and B, I think he's everything the NBA wants. Since I think it is, set up, he completely controls the pace without it looking suspicious, and he's able to always, if you notice, get these close games. Like yesterday, they should have covered by 15 points, but of course he let the Clippers get all the way back into it with some, so interesting. We'll just say interesting choices on offense, and I think Luke is exactly what they need. But even if we're saying just from a basketball perspective, he reminds me of Magic. He really does. People love to say Bird, I guess, because they're both white. But to me, Magic plays the most like Luca, whereas like Luca can play a very slow pace, play that point forward, if you will, and really just see over the defense. And at the same time, he can score. So I think Luke is the best. I think he's going to finish. They're giving him. He's the new LeBron. He's the guy he's gonna have all the numbers. They're gonna say he needs some help, and I think in a year or two he does win it. Who wins MVP? I think Luca again. I think he wins it this year. I think they give it to him. Giannis is a possible, obviously, but I don't think he gets it. I think people are thinking after last year Embiid got snubbed. So, but I think Giannis and Embiid are going to miss some games this year where Luke is not. So it's going to give Luke an excuse to win it. I don't think they give it to Joker again, even if Joker deserved it and got like 30 and 30. I just think because so many people were upset over the analytical standpoint. This guy barely even made it into the playoffs. Yeah, he had good numbers, but was he more valuable than Seth than Luca? And the answer is probably no. It could be yes, but I just don't think they're going to give it to Joker again. To me, it makes sense they give it to Luca. Uh, Steven, thanks for the cast. I also appreciate everybody that joined. It means a lot. Like I said, I wasn't sure anybody was going to join. I'll be talking to myself, but I figured we'd go into as long as people are here, I wanted to go into all the games and some narratives. So yeah, I mean, Curry's always going to be like a front runner MVP type, but along with LeBron, like maybe not his age now. LeBron's out of that category, but I just think now there's a new generation where you got Ja, Luca, Giannis, If you also notice, they're trying to appeal to the international demographic. That's why look at the top players: Giannis, Embiid, Luca, Joker. You have. I think Shadon Sharp's going to take off. He's Canadian, so you're noticing a lot of international players because I think they want that international appeal. Another thing that they saw worked for WWE and they copied. Oh yeah, the league definitely gets a cut, uh, and that's exactly they can do whatever they want really. I mean, they put on the tickets, it's for entertainment purposes only. So they do that so people can't sue them for it not being a competition. Giannis can definitely do it. Dame would be interested. I would like to see Dame win MVP. Oh, thanks. I appreciate it, internet stress. I thought this would be fun. I thought it'd be different, and like I said, my phone doesn't let me do anything this long. Yeah, maybe Dame does win MVP. The thing is, Ant is playing so they're playing so damn good as a team that I don't know if Dame will have enough numbers to be able to do it. But either way, I would love to see Dame win it. He's I think he definitely wins one before his career is over, and I think he wins a ring. That's just my yeah. I think they do. Dame's done everything in my opinion. He hasn't come out against the league. He stayed on the same team. Now you can argue like guys like Chris Paul, have done the same thing and haven't got a ring. I think Dame's different. I think Dame does get a ring. Yeah, Pulse. That's my theory. Last year was the Warriors finished 7-5, and now they're 7-5 all time in the finals. Curry won the 75th year MVP last year. Of course, the Warriors won. Philadelphia Warriors won the first ever 75 years ago, 76 years ago now. So I do think it's interesting for Philadelphia to win in the 76th year. Some are saying it's the 77th year, but I'm going by the NBA narrative. And the 77th year is interesting because we do know a very interesting number 77, don't we? Yeah, Paul's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's an ambassador. No matter what, he's going to go into the Hall of Fame. The Pat Bev brought it up. He's like, how come nobody can talk shit about Chris Paul? You can talk shit about other guys, but you can talk shit about Russ. But Chris Paul, he chokes and nobody talks. And he basically was explaining how the NBA media, how they position players. I've been saying for a while, I don't think Russell Westbrook gets treated fairly. This guy stayed loyal when everyone else left and did everything he could, and now he's being treated like a clown because he's not fitting into these systems. And the NBA media made it normal, so now the fun thing to do is just make fun of Westbrook instead of LeBron. Uh, yeah, thanks, Lex. I appreciate you coming. I appreciate everybody that came. This is definitely way cooler than I thought. I was hoping to be able to answer questions and it not be too much, but luckily, I think we've been able to basically hit the questions and go into all of our games and some narratives, which is basically what I intend to do. We'll definitely do this during a game night too. That'll be cool. I think the Pelicans win around. I don't think they get 50, but I think they get like 46 wins, 44 to 43 to 47. I think they definitely are better than a play-in team this year. But I don't think they're going to finish with like a top 3 or 4 seed. Probably like a 6 or 7 seed, I think. And oh yeah, Mavs or Sixers would be cool. Only because wasn't Doc the Clippers coach when Mavs played them last? That would be an interesting rematch if I'm right. I think he was their coach. Does he have a rap career? I never seen it. I never seen Dame's rap career. Uh, that's his payoff. Oh man, has he rap battled it? I love rap battles. I would love to see Dame in a rap battle. That would be fucking awesome. Um, yeah, the Booker. I think Book stays a Sun. I think they just signed him. They just locked him up 4 years. I think that their team. I think that most of their unit stays together. I think they keep Bridges for a bit. They're going to lose Paul, but Payne's going to step right into that spot. So as a Suns fan, I'd be happy. They have their futures planned out. Interesting theory. So Gilbert Arenas wore the 00, I think it was. I don't know a bunch of players who wear zero. It would be an interesting, if they wear zero, it's right there in plain sight. It's telling you they're not going to win nothing. So we'll have to look at the zeros, uh, and maybe other people more know the symbolism of zero. Like I know some people specifically know which each number symbolizes. No problem, Peter. like I said, thank you guys. If I have any ideas, I like to get them out there anyway. And I didn't want to keep you guys too long or go too long winded, but I also wanted to try and address different ideas I had, such as the NFC Beast narrative, and go into, or I'm sorry, NFC Beast narrative, going into the Super Bowl, going into the finals, and just other stuff, the referees. Without, you know, I figure we can cover it all in one video. Zero means potential. That could be interesting. So yeah, like binaries. So zeros, yeah, potential energy, one's kinetic. Yeah, that could be interesting too. It'd be interesting if they changed it. Yeah, Westbrook's another one. Uh, it's interesting, huh? I wonder if players who wear zero have really, really good careers but don't get it done. Definitely, yeah. Put him in Discord. I'm curious to see Dame's rap. I'm also, yeah, Tatum. I'm also curious to players who change their jersey from zero to something else. If that's happened, it would be really interesting to see if that happened. Did Lillard change his? Or what's up, Frankie? I'm glad you made it. I'm doesn't I'm like if you have any questions or any kind of theories, I'd love to hear. And we were just going over number zeros and the commonality it seems like they have. I remember Gilbert, kind of had his run cut short, and we wonder if Lillard's ever going to get his one. Dwight, I don't know. I know he wore 12. He might have had. He might have wore some like some of the players will wear another number, so he definitely might have. I'll have to look into that. It makes sense. I mean, he definitely fits that bill, right? He never got his shot with the Magic, and they all kind of fit the same bill, right? Like Lillard hasn't done it yet, but Paul, Arenas, Howard, they played like a long time with the same team, and then they went to another couple teams and played like the carousel journeyman. So far, Dame hasn't done that, so we'll have to see. That's where he differs from, in my opinion, Chris Paul and Russell. Now Russell basically left by he had no choice. I mean, they left him, but even still, he still left and went to other teams. Uh, yeah, again, that's the autism. There are certain things that I just remember almost like photographically. But then you'll see I actually do have dyslexia, so there's so many times I'll get like a game from yesterday mixed up with the game the day before. So I'll say like, oh yeah, the Heat looked good yesterday, and or whatever covered yesterday, and it will have been 2 days ago. But yeah, I try and I don't know. I've always had a thing of not like just trying to with the with the metrics remember them the best I can. So a lot of them I remember them based off the numbers, and I've always been pretty good with patterns. But yeah, I appreciate it. Trust me, there's a lot of things I know shit about. I don't know anything about. Numbers and patterns just for me seem to be pretty come to me. So I feel like I would utilize that. Yeah, thanks, Mikey. It's weird. Dyslexia. It's like the brain's. I looked into like autism and dyslexia and all these different. Obviously, once I found out my brain was wired differently, and it is weird. It's stuff like simple as I can like read like a 50-page book, remember every word, but forget the context, or for something stupid, or forget the name of the book, but remember every word in the book. It's like really weird things with that. If you're referring to the Knicks, Steve, I'm staying that Knicks Nuggets game. I'm just gonna stay away from, just because they just upset the Jazz, and like I was saying before, if it usually, I think this is Heat talking, right? I always appreciate everything um, bring forward in the Discord, but yeah, I think the Heat, I'm sorry, the Knicks, after that upset in Utah, I'm not sure they do it again. They certainly could, but I'm just staying away from it personally. That's not one of the games I'm playing. I like the Heat, the Suns, the Hawks a little more than I like the Knicks to cover. Uh, and Rockets money line. That's one I wasn't going to particularly play. I do know Rockets are always a possible upset team. I actually had the Mavs covering. I see they moved the line. I think I got it in closer to 7. It's 6.5 now. Now I think the reason is we see it looks like Luca's out. So here's a story about Luca. He did not play last year, a couple games, and Brunson came in and just went nuts. Today he's out. It looks like he's out. Spencer Dinwiddie is one of the most underrated players in the league. This guy goes off. There are so many games he actually outplays Luca. he will shoot the same amount of shots and have a like way higher efficiency. And yeah, Luka's great. I'm not saying he's better than Luka. Like they tried to start that narrative that they're better without Luka. My point is they're way more consistent with Dinwiddie. The pace is hard for the other teams to stop. So again, seeing Luka out now, I feel like a lot of people are going to say, well, Dallas is barely covering spreads. They're not going to cover 6.5 here. Without Luca. Luca's their only good player. That's the narrative that they've been force fed. But I've watched the Mavericks without Luca do very well, just like the Memphis Grizzlies have done it without Ja, and just like I think tonight the Suns are going to do it without Paul. Uh, I think they do the now if it's a last second injury, Luca was called kind of late. Yeah, he's still well. So he's got a power forward. Dorian Finney-Smith needs to. I don't know how that guy. Talk about potential. He's got all the potential in the world. They just can't do anything with the guy. He's like Ben Simmons. He just gets the ball and stands there. He can play defense, but he doesn't really offer much as far as offense goes. So yeah, if they can get like an actual small forward, like a dude like Ingram, that'd be pretty dangerous to be honest. Brunson, he's more of a one guard than a two guard, so it was hard to keep him. I think Hardaway Jr., just a decent two-way player, is almost enough. But with how they've made these super teams, I could see what you're saying that he definitely would need. Like, yeah, we see the Blazers got Grant, and look at the difference that made, right? So if the Mavericks were to land a good 2-3 guy, then yeah, that would be the narrative for them to make the playoffs. Yeah, they the problem is they're inconsistent. I will say Dinwiddie is real help. That guy again, he gets so underrated. Like he rarely has a bad performance. The same could be said about Wood. Yeah, Woods basically became that second scorer. Him and Dinwiddie are sharing that role. They need again that Finney Smith, that Bullock, that Kleba. They need somebody to take on that role. Uh, yeah, shitty road teams to win. Never a terrible pick. We got the Pistons the other day. I think it was on the road. Who are they playing? Toronto. I think it was Toronto, and it just looked like a trap. They might have been at home, but yeah, shitty road teams win a lot. Look at Knicks are considered a shitty team. They won in. They just won in Utah. So yeah, a lot of times I'll take that metric, but with Luca out, I am wondering if they a lot of people are going to be fading them now, and Dinwiddie comes to play, and the Mavs really the only thing that's going to change them winning from like if they cover from 1 to 50 is if their 3 point shooters are on. So the last couple games they haven't been on, I think purposely so, and I think tonight they'll be on. They got to get I think a home spread cover for that crowd to get them going, especially without Luca. Uh, I'm not shocked. I actually think the Lakers are actually better than the Heat. That's the reason, Mikey, that I have the Heat tonight. The Heat, if I'm not mistaken, are 3-11, so they're technically last and worse than the Lakers, and that's what's revealing. I think the Lakers should be the one that's last because they're the ones being painted as a joke. If you're talking about their overall record, then yeah, I'm not. I'll be honest. I didn't think they'd be the worst team in the NBA this year. I think if someone said that they thought that they'd be the worst team in the NBA this year, they're lying, or they're exaggerating. Uh, I thought they'd be not a playoff team because my theory was they were going to wait until they got Bronny. But yeah, as far as being 3-10, I thought the Lakers would be closer to 4-6, something like that. Uh, 5-8, like where the Nets are sitting, a little worse than that. I didn't think they were going to be the worst team in the league, uh, and I don't think they finished the worst team in the league. But yeah, even that starts curious. But that's why I like the Heat. Yeah, they do. They start off bad and then they come back, or they'll start off good and they'll flip it and then play terrible. So definitely right there, Will Queen, about the Heat. They have a tendency to either just like Jimmy specifically won't step it up really until like there's like 3 minutes left. It seems like sometimes, and if they're up by X amount of points, they'll just take their foot off the pedal. And honestly, the Mavs do that too. But yeah, tonight I'm curious to see what they do with Dimwitty, Wood, get the guys moving a little more. I think we see some more scoring out of the Mavs, so a higher scoring game. Probably wouldn't be a terrible game to take the over Because think about how slow of a pace Luca plays at. Now you flip that to Dimwitty. So I probably won't play the over. I'll probably just stick with the Mavericks to cover, but it probably would be a terrible game. Yeah, I think the Suns win for sure. I to me, there's way more money gonna be on the Warriors, and so yeah, so I've noticed that happens a lot too. A team will kind of get held hostage if there's a certain person that they don't want to get rid of, or there's a certain coach or a certain owner that they can't get out. In this case, I haven't looked too much into their front office, but yeah, if in my opinion, if a team like isn't completely on the same page as we're seeing with the Nets right now, then I feel like they're just not going to win. So I feel like there's a good chance, yeah, the Lakers just lose a lot of games. Yeah, the Clippers. I remember that. That was when they couldn't get Chris Paul, I think, or something like that. They were trying to get Chris Paul. Yeah, yeah, I remember that road go crazy. That's why I think they meet in the playoffs. They were acting way too excited. They were basically saying, "We'll see you in the playoffs." So uh, they said it'd be like the most fun playoff series that they'd. And I actually think the Blazers Pelicans would be more fun to watch. But yeah, they were giving away the script. So we know both those teams are in the playoffs, in my opinion, based off the way the announcers were acting. No, what did Durant say, Steve? I'm curious. And Milwaukee, I'm not positive on. I do like I do like the Heat, and I do think the Hawks look better than people think. So I'd be a little curious. I'd be a little trepidatious with Boston, but Milwaukee 50-50. I'm staying away from the game, but without Drew, just be careful. So Rogo crazy. I swear, I said they're going to find a way. I think it's going to be a three-team trade to get Harden back together with Russ, or Durant with Russ, or Durant with Harden, or Kyrie with LeBron. Probably at the same time they'll get it done. Probably a three-team trade. So I 100% think that Durant might go to the Sixers or something very close to that, and then that could explain Doc winning. It could answer a lot, and the reason I really believe it is it just seems like a movie. People would love to see Kyrie and LeBron back, and Durant and Harden, and Russell's kind of the odd man out, so he'll probably go to some shitty team and have to carry them. But yeah, I think that's really interesting. So Durant was part of the reason Nash got fired, and then they got embarrassed some more. So there's obviously some internal issues there. So I probably stay away from the Nets for a little bit. Uh, they might be making an example of them. Same with the Lakers. And I think we kind of knew that going in, that there'd be some kind of example made of them. Minnesota looks like a trap, 5.5. I would normally love Minnesota. So if I had like a who should win, who should cover, quote, game of the week, it would be Minnesota. But again, who should cover is never who actually does. So I'm just staying away from the Magic game. Yeah, Zubac, I think they're making a point of making him look strong. I mean, gosh, he's doing better than Paul George right now. I was surprised. So I not too surprised, but I was surprised how good he's starting off, and I think that's on purpose, showing that you need an actual team, you need depth. The starting lineup for, are you referring to the Magic or the Twins? I'm sorry, not Twins, the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves, in my opinion, have the best backcourt, probably the third best backcourt combo in the entire game, and just in general, Rudy Gobert, Cat, that team should crucify the the Magic. So I feel like the Magic should be getting like 8 points here, even as bad as the Wolves started, even at home. I think the Wolves are better than the Magic, than the Mavs without Luca are better than the Rockets. Meanwhile, Luca's getting without Luca, the Mavs are giving up 6.5, but the Wolves, it's the same number. It just, I try and look at that kind of stuff, and I feel like the Wolves should definitely be given about 8 points. So it just seems like a trap to me. Boston, they could win. I think they want to keep them looking like a strong team for sure. But yeah, he was good friends with Kobe. That's the thing. You know, you got the Kobe influence. Now, I don't. I think they had like a hand in what happened to Kobe, to be honest. But yeah, they're not going to just go ahead and uh, alienate the fan base too much. Uh, let's see. Oh, you're talking about the trade with get Chet in exchange for Russ. Yeah, I think SGA stays on the. It would be interesting, but I think he stays right where he's at. Uh, oh, if he doesn't want to be there, that could be something. And we've seen players leave early on, and they do have Chet, so I mean they have their own guys. So I could see it happening. I mean, but we'll see. Westbrook Beal would be interesting. The only problem there is I think they're going to run into the same issue they had uh, with the Lakers. But yeah, it would be interesting to see Westbrook go back to OKC or to the Wizards. Honestly, I think Indiana was the favorite last I checked. Um, Russell to Indiana. Yeah, Curry completely changed the 3-point game. So I feel like none of his records are going to be touched. And yeah, as far as consecutive games made, as far as shots in a quarter, as far as percentage, just everything. This man they definitely they all have like gimmicks in my opinion, and his is the 3-point shooter. Ray Allen, Reggie Miller, they were good, but Curry's the logo guy. I think that's why Jimmer Fredette fell off. They came up around the same time, I think. Fredette was a little bit. I forget. They were a couple years apart, but Fredette was the logo three guy. But then they found, hey, this guy's a logo three guy, and he's way more marketable. So we're gonna go. I think that's the kind of stuff that happens. That's why you see some players fall off. Now you still have some logo three guys like Dame and Trey Young, but not like Jimmer was doing. Yeah, Curry's the 3-point goat. That's been solidified. I can't see anybody arguing for Ray or for Reggie or for. I guess Curry would be the closest argument, which is ironic, his coach, because I think he had the as far as percentage. But then you have to take into account he was getting wide open threes, and Curry's creating threes. So yeah, Curry's been an interesting one watching him not even look at the net, make a three. Of course, he knows it's going to go in. So he's definitely going to get that line. Shane, I'm not sure on that one. If pressed, I've been asked a couple times. If absolutely pressed, I'd probably go Knicks cover because I still think people are going to fade them. But yeah, like it's not one I love. I'm not playing it because they just covered the Jazz, so they can certainly explain the Nuggets having a strong game against, and the Nets don't have Mitchell Robinson their center, so it's just not one I'm racing to play. So I wouldn't play that game. I wouldn't go out of my way to play it. But if I had to, then I might be a little biased towards the Knicks, but I'd probably pick them to cover the spread. But yeah, it's not one I'm playing. I can tell you that. It just to me, it's too 50-50. Yeah, he was Steve. He wasn't even like their main. Believe Harper, right, was the guy who usually ran for them. But yeah, Kerr just got wide open shots. So yeah, he's gonna make them like. If you remember early in Corver's career, he would make wide open threes, and then he stopped making them once he became more of a shooting guard. It happened with Reddick and the Magic. He was hitting his, but then when he had to be a scorer, he couldn't make them. Yeah, the magnets, that's another thing. And I love Dame, but it happens for him too. These logo threes, some of them. Ja hit one the other night, about 49 feet. The way he arced the ball, there's no way that ball should have got in, but somehow it did. I think Hawks, money line, Hornets, Suns looks like good. I'm not like all over the Hornets, but I do like the Hawks and the Suns. Yeah, Pope. Yeah, like he's another player that people don't really think about until they're gone. He's kind of like an Andrew Wiggins right now for the Warriors. Comes through when other people can't. Yeah, the stunner and the rock bottom. Uh, look more realistic in my opinion than half of these games. Oh, did he have a 3-4? Yeah, you'll see pi so many times. Actually, if you literally go to my first ever video ever made and then go to the description, you'll see a bunch of numbers, numerology, and 314, 413 is just riddled through it. Same thing with Kobe. You know, his last game was on 413. His last shot was over Trey Lyles, number 41. It was a three-pointer. He left the game with 14.3 seconds left. All these crazy commonalities with 314, 413. If you didn't know, the Warriors shot, I think it was 413% against the Celtics in the playoffs. And what's really interesting is they won there's a bunch of, you'll have to look into it. I don't remember all the numbers, but there's a lot of 413s. Yeah, so yeah, the All Star game, you're always going to see them going way more. Ja is he's improved his shooting a lot. So either they're turning the magnets on for him, or I think they do want these people to be able to actually make shots without magnets. So I think he improved his shot because his three-pointer is much more smooth, and that mid-range jumper is looking like Rip Hamilton's, and that's dangerous when you have a guy that was predominantly a driver, and now he's dangerous from the jump shot. That's why he's going to be a force for years to come. So yeah, Ja is just he's going to be ridiculous. He's going to be right up there with Luca. That's going to be a great rivalry to watch. Yeah, Nets Six is going to be great, really entertaining. We're going to see if they humiliate the Nets, what they do. What's going on with Kyrie by then should really make a difference. Yeah, he just wasn't much of it. Like you notice that with Luca, LeBron, Dwayne Wade, a lot of these players come in the league and they're just maybe shootings. It's shooting on a different rim. Maybe they have to pay their dues and they don't get the magnetic treatment the first year. I don't know, but yeah, they always come in the league and by year three, they seem to really be nailing those jump shots. Yeah, with Kyrie's value, they probably could do like a Westbrook straight up for Kyrie trade right now. So that could definitely work. Oh, thank you, SA. Yeah, I never try and ask people. Every time I see like someone say, like my channel, I'm like, well, I'll like your channel if I like your channel, not because you're telling me to. So I never ask people, but I appreciate it. SA. It does, yeah. They recommend it more, and I appreciate everybody that subscribes and does all that stuff for me. I never. Again, I feel like if you like my channel, you'll subscribe. If you don't, you won't. So I'm not going to tell you to, but I appreciate when people bring it up. It means a lot. Uh, I never expected it to organically grow as much as we have, to be honest. Yeah, Ja, I'm curious to see if he might make the Western Conference Final this year. Like I said, Memphis Blazers could be a great game. I'm still pretty sold on the Blazers going to the conference finals, but it'd be interesting to see Ja versus the Blazers. Pat Riley isn't going for it. For a trade or for? Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, you never know, Pat. I mean, Pat would be like maybe one guy who could get that under control. Best free throw shooter? I feel like it's a cheating answer to go with Seth or Steph. You got Steph. CJ McCollum is up there, but you got Seth. I'd say Steph and the other dude, Kevin Durant. I don't think there's too many better shooters as far as free throws. You got I think Booker's at like 80 something percent. But yeah, I'd say Seth or Steph. I don't know. I keep saying Seth. I'd say Steph, and then I'd go Durant as the two best free throw shooters. Yeah, I do like the Heat. I like the Heat a lot. Frankie, I say right. I might be a little bit biased. SA for 313. Uh, oh, it's a Woke Queen. Okay, I thought you were talking to me. I'm like, but yeah, I do like the Heat. I think they cover. To me, it just makes sense. I think they're going to get faded pretty hard, and I think again, I just don't think they start off 3-13 against the spread or whatever they are. It just doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, Deadman does really good when a lot of times when what's his name is out when you don't see Bam. A lot of times Deadman steps up and has a really good game, so it'd be interesting. Yeah, Pat, he's an utmost professional, so it's gonna have to be very interesting to see what happens there. We'll have to see. Oh yeah, like I said, you could bring up. I don't mind anyone bringing up any site. I specifically try and fade Vegas Insider just because I use them and they have not seemed to been accurate on the handle. But if you do, find one that seems to be reliable, and it seems like this is what I don't get. Okay, you'll see one where it's like Heat -1, and 80% is taking the Heat -1, but then 80% is taking the other team on the money line, the Raptors on the money line. So I'm like, how is 80% differing over 1 point? It just doesn't add up to me. And then I'll go back and see that so many teams that the public was picking, they won. So I'm like, well, if these sites are accurate, then Vegas is paying out the ass. But I'm not saying yours is. I'm not saying yours is. I'm just saying when I did start using specifically Vegas Insider, I started doing much poorer with my picks. Duncan Robinson, he's another one. He's been coming through. He's been coming through for the Heat. He's one who can come through when Bam's not in, score some points, and that would be a really big trade if they were to do that. So that would be interesting. But yeah, it looks like the games are about to start. Um, Thunder. So Thunder's interesting. I didn't think they'd start SGA off as like he's just going nuts, and they don't even have Holmgren really yet. So I think they might wait a year on the Thunder. I don't know. They might even make a trade, get somebody. I think everyone's expecting Russell to go there, but I think they hold on to SGA. I know people are saying he wants to go places, but I think they keep him this year. I'm not sure exactly when he becomes a free agent. If he becomes a free agent in the off season, then he's probably gone. Uh, yeah, it seems like they're just trying to pick another guy to fill in a spot. He's the new Westbrook. He can kind of do it all. That's why I thought Holmgren was going to go to the Magic, even though I predicted he was going to break his vertebrae trying to box somebody out, and I was right. He's still a big man, so I thought the Magic would like to see a big man. But yeah, the dude weighs a Big Mac less than Steph Curry, and he's a foot taller. I don't know, even in a rigged league, I don't see how people can explain Chet Holmgren, making the NBA and not getting destroyed. And the fact that if he doesn't get destroyed when he is back from being injured, we'll give you the fact that it's definitely rigged. Huh, lunar eclipse rockets, that could be interesting. No problem, understand boxing. So here are my picks for today. I like one NBA game. A lot of people in the chat are loving as the Zaga Texas game. They're loving Zaga. Uh, so I'm gonna that one I haven't seen, but I'm for my metrics. Houston is playing. I think it's Texas South University. So undefeated boxing. My only college basketball pick is I'm fading Houston. So it's going to be 30.5 for University of South Texas, wherever Shaq's son plays. Just fade Houston on the points. I am taking the Atlanta Hawks over Boston. I think they cover and win. I'm taking the Heat over the Raptors. I think they cover and win. I like the Bulls. I think the Pelicans is a trap, so I'm taking the Bulls to cover, and I'm also taking the Mavericks to cover, and I'm taking the Suns to cover. So they're all covers. Some might wind up being money lines because they're like 1 point games. But again, to recap, I like the Hawks. I like the Bulls. I like the Mavs. And again, these are all covers. I like the Heat. I like the Suns. And I like the under on Boston. No problem, man. And yeah, the under on Boston. Hopefully we do good tonight. I am deciding to do yeah, I'm deciding to do the Heat as a leg three. So we missed the Heat yesterday, or 2 days ago. So they're going to be my leg three tonight. I'm taking the Heat to beat the Raptors. So that's going to be a leg three. And a leg two, I'm picking a leg two. And that one, I went with the Suns. Take care, Lex. Yeah, I'm about to get some dinner in a minute and watch probably check out the. I'm curious to see how the Heat start off. But yeah, take it easy. I appreciate everyone for coming by. We've been here a little bit, so I'll probably, like I said, get some food in a second. The public, yeah, the public's basically just whoever the people are picking. But yeah, so yeah, Suns definitely get it. I think you're right, Mike. I think that the Suns definitely get in again. And yeah, it's all about patterns. It's all about patterns and narratives. And in my opinion, it's oh no problem, guys. I just if I'm thinking of something and I have an idea, then I have no problem, giving you my assessment. It doesn't always mean it's perfect, but I do think we have a good night tonight. My goal is usually to split the metrics, and then we usually wind up picking them up on the second, third leg. Uh, yeah, the handles might not be accurate. It's hard to tell. It really is. CP3, yeah, helps unlock. Yeah, Booker, Aiton, SJ. That would be interesting. Yeah, it'd be interesting if the Suns pick somebody up. Zaga, a lot of people liking Zaga. That's cool. Zaga. If I always say if a lot of people are seeing the exact same thing, then there's probably some truth to it, which is good, which is cool in my opinion. Yeah, that's a good comparison, honestly. With Harden and Embiid, you got more of a two-man game that they play well together, and Giannis is like Wilt. I actually compared him to Wilt before. That's a great analogy. He just comes down the freaking. People think Wilt was just tall. They need to go back and watch highlights of him running down the court like a freight train and dribbling the ball like as smooth as LeBron. Like people don't realize how talented Wilt was. They just think he was like this tall guy grabbing the ball like Fisher Price hooping it in. He was ridiculous. Yeah, Harden's no Kobe, but I do get the analogy. I get the pick, type of offense they're running. Yeah, so for the Sixers, let's take the Sixers, okay? I think Doc's in on it. I think Harden's in on it. I think at this point Embiid's in on it. Is Tobias Harris in on it? Probably not. Now PJ Walker, he's in on it. Or PJ Tucker, he's definitely in on it. PJ Tucker is a perfect example of a guy that's in on these things. There's no coincidence he's bouncing around the league to championship teams every year. It's because he knows how to play his role perfectly. And this year, I think he's going to win. But PJ Tucker, guys like that are in the league for 15 years, playing average to above average, but they're good role players. They're definitely in on it. But yeah, Wilt, I think Wilt, honestly, big argument. I have him higher than, to be honest, on my list. I think it might be sound crazy, but I don't have MJ as the goat. I'm just gonna say that right now. Uh, I really don't have MJ as the goat. I think we've been filled with a false narrative regarding MJ. He's just really marketable, so it's easier to call him the goat than Kareem or some of these other guys like Wilt. Oh yeah, Washington. You got to crack the champagne. That's nice. That's always cool. Yeah. So interesting about Jordan. Yeah, Jordan did get into it. You could look up that gambler guy who came out. Uh, oh yeah, it all kind of fits together. Yeah, it's really deeper. So that former gambler, or not gambler, that former mobster Michael Francesi came out and essentially said Jordan's dad was killed because he got into gambling. Why do you think he left? Oh no, he didn't say that. This other guy who they took all of his shit down. His name's Rashad Jamal. He's a musician, but he goes into the NBA shit. He said LeBron didn't want to go, or Michael didn't want to go play baseball. That was him being, you know, uh, given a penance because he had such a gambling problem. So he had to throw games. Then he left the league for a couple years. They punished him. He played some baseball. Then he came back and he got his three-peat, and then he got embarrassed on the Wizards. And he's been embarrassed every game since. He probably still owes the mob, and that's probably why he's owning a shitty team, throwing games every week. So yeah, Jordan's a big story. I have no issue with Jordan. I just think the league puts him on a pedestal, and now it's like if we don't love Jordan, it's like it ruins our childhood. So it's hard not to love Jordan, and they did that on purpose. I feel like so guys like Iverson and Kobe, in my opinion, didn't get a fair shot because they wanted Jordan to be the guy. I'd have to see what how Barkley's context was against Kanye. Yeah, Kanye's been catching a lot of shit. Same with Kyrie. Kyrie's against all this rigged. I think so. I thought he was, but somebody brought up a good point to me. They said, he seems to come out very, very like timely, like almost he comes out at very opportunistic times. So this time it was like around political season, and somebody said I wouldn't be surprised if he's just being told to say dumb shit. And I thought about that, and I'm like, that does kind of make sense because if he was being told to play dumb or told to say dumb shit, it would explain why he was only penalized 5 games. It would explain why they still clown Westbrook worse than him. But we'll have to read more into it to see if he's actually against the shit and he's trying to let us know, or if he's like controlled opposition. Yeah, so he can't talk about it. I'm thinking whether he wants to talk about it and just can't, or whether he's part of it. So if he muted you, I'm guessing, obviously he didn't want to talk about it because I feel like there, if he is against it and he outright says something, I feel like they go after these people's families. I don't think people realize the power that is held and what can happen. Like if they can take out Michael Jordan's dad, they can certainly do something to Kyrie. It was argued that that's what happened with Derrick Rose. He refused to cave, and that's why he's just gonna basically live out his career as a backup on the Knicks. And somebody even brought it up because, yeah, the hint, like if you can try and do it in a way, maybe that was, oh, the mods muted you. I was gonna say maybe the mute was like a hint, right? You're like, I'm staying silent. Who knows? Uh, but yeah, sometimes like a blink would be nice or some kind of acknowledgement. It'd be nice if some of these players came out. Oh yeah, it's way more than just Kyrie. They did it with the vaccine. They did it with a lot of things with Kyrie. And if anything stems political, yeah, Caviar. If anything, you know, um, spreads into the political realm, then it's definitely going to be 50 times worse. And with as politicized as the world is, anything Kyrie says is just going to be taken politically. And a lot of these things are political stances, but yeah, it's whether he's being told to say these things to start some stories up, or he's just not thinking and saying stuff, and then realizing, oh damn, I should have said that. So the Pacers game is another one. I think they're playing the Hornets, right? That one I was staying away from just because Pacers. Yeah, I was staying away from that game just because. Again, when I see two shitty teams, I don't run out of my way to play either one. Uh, the spread was one. I feel like that one's a coin flip. So I feel like a few more people might be on the Pacers, but it's not one that I'd run out of my way to pick. I really like the Heat. Like I said, I really like the Suns. Uh, Hawks, I'm confident with the Hawks, and I do like the under with Boston. But yeah, so those and Houston. Don't forget Houston University. I think Houston fading them. So I like Texas South to cover that 31.5. Oh yeah, it's not a coincidence. You have all these teams and the same players, same teams, same coaches wind up meeting each other. I wonder if they do it again with the Clippers and the. Nice job, Robin. We're going to hit this one for sure. I wonder if they're going to do it with the Clippers and Luca, or if they're going to give us a different matchup. The one I'm almost positive we see is Doc versus the Bucks. I think we're going to see Giannis versus Embiid, and I like the Sixers. But yeah, I think the Sixers would be a good team to get in on now. I feel like for the finals because I feel like a lot of people aren't going to be on them now. So hopefully that handles right. We never know, but if that handles right, then we're looking good on Atlanta because I think that one is a trap game. Uh, Boston, they got off to a strong enough start where a loss to Atlanta is not going to make them look weak. But again, a win by Atlanta really makes Trey. If you notice last year, they didn't have him in club superstar. They talked about Booker. They talked about now this year they're talking about Trey. Now we got SGA. So each year there's new players that they push, and you can't push 8 guys at once. I mean you can, but you really can only push a few at a time. So you see last year they spent a lot of time really pushing Ja, Luca to that next level. And now we're seeing guys get pushed to that Devin Booker level. Heat, yeah, I think they might come out. I'd hate to look stupid on my first ever live. I think the Heat come out and play a really good game. I think the Suns is a very feisty game, and I think Cameron Payne is the difference maker. So if you like player props, I don't think Cameron Payne bets would hurt. Um, Another one is Bridges, defensive player, but definitely can come through and score. Exactly. That's my theory. Will Queen is essentially if the Heat lose tonight, I'm not going to fret over it. When I pick leg fours, Essentially, it's when I've done a lot of research, and in this case, it's going to be that the Heat don't lose two more in a row and start off 3-16. I mean, well, knowing them and their damn numbers, they would, but you get my point against the spread. Three, yeah, they've been bouncing back and forth. I think a lot of that might just be public action, to be honest, because I know they were at one. I think they moved all the way to four, and then 2.5. So I like them at the three. Obviously, when we see them moving up, we don't love it. I think it's more the fact that Bam was ruled out, and that's what makes sense to me. Oh, what's up, Jimmy? I always see. I'm glad you're here. Celtics win. You think the Celtics win? 66. Yeah. So you've been right with the numbers before, especially with the 66ers. So a lot of times I'll balance metrics and narratives over and traps and stuff over the numerology. So in this case, I did do that. I wasn't aware. Oh, nice. 16 minutes. Cool. I got to get my food in a second if you got it then. But I still got another minute or two. But yeah, Jimmy, I think there's definitely a good chance that happens. 666, of course. Wouldn't be surprised if it was a 6 point game. But you just, and Russell, Bill Russell, number six. So you can see that, these numbers they're all over the place. But I've seen this so many times where that'll happen, and then you'll see the complete opposite. You'll see, the numerology lines up perfectly, and it doesn't work. You might not believe me. I really haven't checked out Zach's channel yet. I've been recommended it a few times. Uh, I've checked out a lot of the breakdown channels because I think they're fun to watch. I kind of stopped watching them only mostly because there's not much I can do about it. I know these guys are out there throwing games, so it's like, okay, I can point out this guy threw the game, but we're not going to do anything. So the problem with the gematria is when I try and get into it, it winds up throwing off my narratives and my metrics, and I'll pick a game because of like what I believe to be solid proof of gematria. If you guys remember, the Colts are playing several weeks ago, and somebody outlined a million numbers as to why the Colts were going to win the game against the Titans. I think it was. I forget who it was. It was a few weeks ago, and they lost. And the gematria added up perfectly. So it's nothing against Zach or gematria. It's just like Cricket is saying, it's double coded on purpose. You can find the exact same. If I went online to a gematria calculator and typed in Miami Heat, I guarantee you, and typed in BAM and typed in code words, I can find just a compelling reason to tell you they're going to win as I can that they're going to lose. Actually, I had somebody do that on my page. His name is on the thick Burgess, on the ice Burgess. I'm sure you've seen him. He's comments some really interesting stuff. But he told me why the Bills were definitely going to win a game, uh, gave me all the numbers, and then I asked him, "Can you do me the same, but tell me why the other team's going to win?" And sure enough, he did. He had like just as much numbers to back up the other side. So that's the problem with gematria. We can easily see something, and then it makes it easier for us to okay, confirmation bias, definitely. Like, and I'm not saying it's wrong. Jimmy's been on with his numbers before, so I'm just saying like the gematria channels, I just don't watch because it makes it so hard. Yeah, there's freaking 80 sides to gematria. You can find them. I thought I had the perfect reason the Yankees were going to win, and it just didn't work. Who's winning the NBA championship, Hillary? I'm not sure. I'm thinking the Sixers. I am thinking it's the Sixers. So um, it'll be interesting to see. I think the 76th year again. They're saying 70, 77. People are saying 77, but 70. Yeah, I think our intuition is better than using gematria. In just my opinion. Just it's helped me better. But yeah, I think the 76ers win, and just because it makes sense for the Doc narrative. Harden's been playing for a long time. They have PJ. They have a lot of players that just, in my opinion, make sense. They have a championship team. They have the fan base. Yeah, Joel Embiid, he got screwed out of the MVP last year. Uh, and yeah, they started off kind of slow. To me, everything is just kind of lining up for the Sixers. And I'm not saying it, guarantee, but I definitely think they get to the AFC or the Eastern Conference Finals against the Bucks. And the Bucks had PJ Tucker when they won. So to me, this would be the perfect way to explain why you need a PJ Tucker on your team. The guy, rigged or not, he plays. I've never seen somebody hustle like this guy. Yeah, the refs, the owners, gosh, the fans. They'll show you, certain fans, and like they're them talking before a game. It all gives it away. From the backup players all the way up to to the cheerleader, everything. It's definitely, yeah, the Heat. I thought they would. I thought they were going to beat Boston because I thought the PJ Tucker narrative was going to be essentially, uh, again, you need a PJ Tucker. Now Boston does have a lot of good players, but yeah, I'm glad you watched the Heat understand boxing because I watched them last year. This year, I'm focusing on the Blazers more. So if you can watch some Heat for me, if I miss some games, if you're watching them, like tell me if you're noticing the same PJ as last year. I am, which is great news. That help defense, that all that stuff. Oh, shade on Sharp, yeah. Yeah, that's probably true. I mean, Robert Williams played like a man possessed, and I think PJ fits better with the Sixers, though. Honestly, Maxi gets going; they could be hard to stop. So, shade on Sharp. I picked him to win Rookie of the Year, and this was before I had a channel. I One second, guys. Sorry. And then I figure we'll go about 3 hours, so 15 more minutes if that's cool. Um, I'll stay on if you guys want me to. I could talk all day, but uh, what I wanted to go over was, yeah, it's cool you watch the Heat because what I kind of wanted to see is if we can have different people that like different teams, given their thoughts. So, if you think PJ, let's see, do you think? Yeah. So my question is, if you think PJ is playing basically the same as he did last year, that bodes really, really well for the Sixers because they can easily explain him. Him being the difference maker. So I don't know if this is true. Understand boxing. I'm my friend's full of shit. Yeah, watch some footage and let me know if you see him diving for the ball. You know how PJ plays. If he's doing that kind of stuff, playing some good help defense, that's good. That means we're seeing the same PJ as playoff PJ last year. Robin, I went 3 hours out laughing, and you're gonna make me fucking lose it laughing because now all I can think of is Aaron Rodgers galloping up and down the field. That must have been one of the funniest things. So you have to imagine, I picked this man like 8 weeks in a row. Yes, Hillary. LeBron's gonna win in the election year. I will tell you that. Just my opinion, and I think it's fitting that he wins in the election year. But yeah. So watching this man play terrible. Yeah, Crowder's similar. Yeah, he's just no PJ. They actually, yeah, you're right. They're actually more similar than I thought. PJ's just way older, which makes it more impressive in my opinion. But I think Harden's like Chris Paul and a lot of these other players. But this year, I think it's different. I think it's been scripted. So yeah, he's going to blow leads in the playoffs. But now we have a team full of players that are known for blowing playoff leads. Not a team full of them, but you got Doc, you got James, and you do have PJ got it done for the Bucks, but then he lost a couple times after that. And so I think there's a great story for Embiid, for Doc, for PJ. Again, the 76th year for the Sixers to get it done. I think this year Harden, he's not looking slow like he did last year. He's looking like he's in a little better shape. I think Harden, Maxi, Tobias, I think they get it done. Did he really say that? If he said that, that's nuts because I wouldn't have like I didn't obviously I don't watch a ton of the press conferences. I should, but that's literally what I my theory was. Yeah, they're basically they were a PJ Tucker away from the finals. That type of player. So, and I don't think it's a coincidence. Again, he played for the Bucks. He's been around the playoffs for several years. So, yeah, I think hearing that reassures me a lot because that was just my mindset. I wasn't really actually thinking he said something to that effect. Yeah, they knocked out. Yeah, his hustle is ridiculous. Like it really is. It's completely insane. This man is 40, and I watched him playing. Oh, that's interesting, and it looks like he's gonna. Yeah, so this. I wonder if Pat Bev, because Utah and Minnesota both look better. I wonder if he traded, maybe a playoff run in return for the just playing with LeBron. What do you guys think? Yeah, understand boxing, and that's what annoys me the most about these announcers. Sorry, guys. um, they're the ones who act like it's got to be a team game and it can't be about any one person. But then they completely ignore PJ Tucker when he's diving around, playing great help D, not stuff you'll see on the stat sheet. And they always talk about players. You won't see that on the stat sheet, this, that, and the other thing. But PJ Tucker is so obvious. Like I said in the playoffs. Sorry guys, got a little more there than I was expecting. But yeah, PJ in the playoffs, he was chasing down Trey Young from behind, just like cutting him off at every angle, just completely negating Trey Young from the game. And they said nothing about how like great PJ was playing. Now it could be on purpose. They don't want people focusing in on PJ because he's kind of one of those. He just kind of gets his job done. But yeah, he's the biggest hustler in the NBA. Yeah, so Bev, I just found it interesting because he was traded and then immediately traded again. And now the team that he was traded from is doing really good. They're like 10-6, the Jazz, and the Lakers are doing terrible. So I was wondering, well, for his brand going to the Lakers, he might be thinking of it that way. He doesn't care if he plays on the Jazz and goes out in the first or second round. Yeah, he's like a journeyman, and it seems like he's always on a winning team. So I do think that I do think that PJ, yeah, I think he was a Sun. I think he was a Sun. I think he was a Buck he started on Portland. Where did he start? That's what I'm trying to remember. This guy's been all over. He's probably been on 8 teams, but the last couple of years he's really been making the rounds, and I'm not seeing age slow him down. Yes, crit. I do think that the NBA games don't go how they're intended. I think they make sure certain playoff games go the way they're supposed to go. But I think in some games, if they have even money and there's not really a narrative, they might want a team to win, and they might tell the refs, "Hey, make sure these guys get favorable calls, whatever the case may be." But I do think that there's games where something's not supposed to happen and it happens, and the team, even if it be by accident, a team's not supposed to cover and they do, and they'll just make up for that. But I do 100% think I don't think players can go rogue. They'd be immediately dealt with. So I don't think it's like, Russell, you're going to throw this game, and then he doesn't throw the game. If that were to happen, you wouldn't see Russell anymore. He would have a quote neck injury, and his knees would be quote injured for the rest of the season because they would definitely have take their time beating him to a pulp. So I don't think players just go rogue. But yeah, so understand boxing. That's more what happens. um, George Carlin had a quote: "When similar interests converge, you don't need an official conspiracy, right?" So when you have the owners and the refs and players that can all benefit from the exact same thing, let's look at it from a logical perspective, real quick. This is gonna be fun. Okay, so you're a point guard, right? You're new. You just came into the league. Now you're coming up against Chris Paul, and he's like a gatekeeper, right? You're Alvarado, and you're going up against Chris Paul, and Chris Paul says, "All right, here's the rules, kid. You let me get mine, I'll give you yours." Are you gonna tell Chris Paul no? I'm fuck you, Chris Paul. I'm gonna shut you down. No, you're gonna give him his. Just like if you go to the park or something, and there's like a respect factor. Friends do it for each other. So these players in the NBA, in my opinion, they're friends. They want to act like they hate each other. I bet you Clay and Booker were getting beers after that, fight. Clay just happens, the coolest guy in the league just happens to get a suspension or ejected because Booker gets under his skin. It's to me, Booker and Clay are going to put each other over. Payne and Poole are going to put each other over. Curry and Paul are going to put each other over. Yeah, they're all friends, so I don't see them showing up and yeah, they want to be competitive if they, if they have to be, they have egos, but I don't think they're going out there to destroy each other. And I think a cornerback receiver, okay, I'll let you get a couple catches, but then let me get a big fucking forced fumble, just something small like that. Like that, just if I'm a player, I'm thinking that. Then you think about what the league's doing with it, and it'd be almost impossible for them not to be doing it. Yeah, exactly. He wants to be a two-way player. Right now, he's more of a one-way player, but Clay's like got this cool, mystique behind him. And Booker, I think, comes off more of like a heel kind of. But they both have that same type to them, where if you pick if you're like against the Suns or the Warriors, you hate those guys because they're always destroying you. So I can see Booker wanting to be like Clay for sure. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Understand boxing. Like I would say I know the Blazers pretty darn well. Um, oh, what did Rogo say? I want to miss it. Oh yeah, about Booker and Clay. Yeah, but yeah, I watched the Heat pretty like I'm sorry, the Blazers a good bit. Last year I was watching more Dallas. This year it's been annoying to watch Luca complain every play, only to miss free throws. But I still feel like I have a good feeling on Dallas, the Sixers as well. But if there's like favorite teams you have, then yeah, definitely let me know if you think a player is not playing the same or whatever the case may be, because it definitely makes a difference. Seeing, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's really just about the more information we can get each other, it becomes like a think tank. And that's kind of like what the Discord's like. It's basically like a think tank. But yeah, I see like you guys are probably getting tired of listening to me, so I'm gonna wrap this up, and I'll be in the Discord in a little bit. If there's any questions, I wanted to make sure I never want to miss a question, but I wanted to go into everything, and I think we hit everything. Yeah, I like the Sixers. Um, you know, they might still start off a little slow, but I think they finish strong. Okay, this I Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Hard. Yeah. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah, Jay Crowder. Yeah, that's actually a good comparison between Jay and PJ. They do play a lot alike. I just think PJ is a little more efficient. Um, oh, thanks. I appreciate that. I honestly, I feel like my technology is archaic, and I'm like, hopefully a few people watch, but I just try and I see it some channels, and a lot of people try to come off like these professional handicappers, and they're not. Like throwing on a suit and having a fancy backdrop. And I'm not trying to trash people, but it doesn't make you a professional capper. I'm not a professional capper. I just try and be honest with my picks, and I try and be transparent instead of, oh, I love this team, but I can't give you a reason why, or I haven't shown you that I've actually picked that team. All those different things. So I figured when I saw a lot of people knew it was rigged, but they also wanted to see if they can make some money. Uh, if you watch my playlist, my system, I watched it for years. That I've been using it for about a year. No problem, Mike. Yeah, I'm about to take off too. Thank you as well. But yeah, so I figured I'd get the picks out there. It doesn't cost me anything, and if other people can benefit, then I'd be selfish not to give you my insight. I feel bad if I'm wrong, so that's my only thing is when I'm wrong, I feel bad. But that's why I do my system, because overall, even when I'm not over the target for a couple games, we get back on track, and we're doing well now. Heat come through, we're doing really, really well. But even without them, we're still in the green. But yeah, I just yeah, and I wasn't trying to bash any of 'em. I'm sure there's people that have well-meaning, they mean well. It just seems like a lot of them, you're 3 seconds into the video, and they're telling you to like their shit and, like, give them money, and I just don't understand why. If their system's so good, like, I like my system, so that's the reason, like, why would I ask for money, right? Like, because I can make money off my system. So I just feel like when I see those channels immediately asking for money or selling stuff, I get a little bit like hesitant. I wouldn't, if I can make money betting, which we've been doing, I don't see the reason to say, oh yeah, also, I want to charge to give you information that's free anyway. But yeah, I appreciate that you guys appreciate that, and it really helps. Like I said, as you pointed out earlier, just simply watching the video here and commenting and all that stuff means the biggest deal to me, because you could be watching a million channels, higher quality and stuff, but I just try and look at the narrative aspect of the game, and I think a lot of people are missing that. They're missing the metrics, the Vegas metrics, and they're missing the narratives. They're picking who should win, and also bankroll management's important. So I just like to get that out there if I can. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate everybody that's been extremely, supportive. Um, do you know what I mean? Oh yeah. So I didn't see what you had wrote before that, but I think you're Brandon. Are you talking about like comparing mine to other cabbers and stuff? Hey, team up with someone that does numbers that only betting on the ones you both agree on. That'd be interesting. I haven't done that, but that would be a cool way of almost like a scientific method, right? Like retesting it. Like I'm pretty sure about this, and then we find somebody else that's pretty sure about this. Then we go into why we're both pretty sure about it. I'd say that happens in my Discord a lot. A lot of the people I'm chatting, in the internet stress here. Steven was chatting earlier. A lot of you guys understand you're in my Discord, so you'll post something either from somebody that they're usually pretty accurate, and I'll be thinking about it and I'll say, that's funny. I had them for a different reason, but we still both had them. And those picks, Brandon, have been better. So, like, for example, we picked the Pistons the other night because his name's Steven here. You probably saw him. He had shown me a good point that one of his guys brought up about the Discord's great. I'm going to post a link afterwards. I'll post it in the comments. It's free, obviously. It's really cool. But yeah, when I think a bunch of us are coming to the same conclusion for a different reason specifically, then it's even better, you know. But sure enough, he liked the Pistons to cover, and he explained how they were being quiet about the Raptors' injuries, and they were focusing on Cade Cunningham. And we kind of came to the determination Jaden Ivey was going to do good. And yep, the line moved, and it actually moved to we got in at 4.5, and the Pistons lost by 4, so we covered by half a point. So there's that. There's a couple ones where now a couple people might have got the 3.5. Hopefully, more people that picked the Pistons got the 4.5. But it happened with the. There's another game where it moved to a half point too and got people. Oh, it was Zach the one who picked the? I'm guessing he didn't pick the Pistons. But yeah, a lot of people were on the Raptors, so someone brought to my attention why that was a good pick, and I agreed with them. I thought it was a good pick. Oh, Jabari, I'm not sure what's going on with him. Like I said, I, I I do like Dallas tonight. Finally, Bucks down to -2. Yeah, they're going to move around, and yeah, 3.5. So it seems like what'll happen is don't. So another thing people don't realize is I think live action it determines so much of these games. Okay, so when you have live action, let's just say right now the Heat, more money's on the Heat, right? 60-40. But you get into the game, and 50% of the pre-game action is already met in the first quarter. Well, now the live action is going to be more important than the pre-game action. You got 82 games. So that's why I try and look at the long-term metrics more so than the other things, because they might change. We might be right. We might have been completely right about a game and they flipped it on us and we lose it at the last minute. Oh, no problem. It just I'm sure you guys realize with DraftKings, with how normalized it is now, how easy it is to gamble. Crypto, whatever you can do it from your phone so much easier. The live action is just it's more imperative than the public. That's why I don't play every game. I'll try and play the TV games that I think they want to tell a story. I'll try and tell the trap ones where so much is going to be on a team before the game that even with the live action, I don't see it balancing out. Uh, yeah, NFL was much easier. Yeah, once everything went live, it made it so much harder because now you have to literally think how the public is thinking, right? Like, who's the public probably going to be like, and then you have to kind of bet against that. So you're like almost like reverse psychology. It's tough. I've been in the Discord with people. Yeah, it's a shame it's not like it used to be. The good thing is I think we at least know now. We're not like just picking the quote best teams. So at least now we know. Well, they're definitely going to put this team in the playoffs. So it's even for a 52% chance, we know there's a better chance they win than this team or whatever the case may be. So that's what I just try and do is stick to the metrics and narratives. Yeah, it's been doing good. Like I said, if you guys haven't, if you're newer, It's called the RIG system, RIG, Random Internet Guy, because I was on a betting forum and some guy had gone into it and 6 years of history behind it. He used it for baseball. Not a day was this man in the red, and it was long term, but he had a bigger bankroll. But I threw 180 to start off, and we're around 450 now. That's including outstanding wagers. If MJF wins tonight, I'll be at 550. So that doesn't count my original 180 or obviously my MJF bet. But from the system alone, we're up about 4x. Understand boxing, yeah. UFC, we can start definitely hitting that in boxing. Uh, I bet wrestling. So I mean, of course, I would love to bet those two as well. Um, yeah, no problem at all, Brandon. Like honestly, I'm not doing anything that takes up. I'd be just instead of watching the game or researching it, I'm just kind of telling you guys my ideas. So it's not setting me back at all. Once I can figure out some better shit, like my phone, not having to delete apps and stuff, then it'd be a cinch. But just new to the whole YouTube thing. But yeah, I'm gonna post the Discord so you guys can all see that. No, so here's a funny story. You know what? I mean, as long as you guys are asking, like I said, I just didn't want to take up your guys' time. I know I didn't wrestle, but I did go to wrestling training. I went to a school. It was by the Wild Samoans. So they're the Wild Samoans. They actually have us because in Florida there's a incredible amount of schools, and they're technically cousins of The Rock or uncles of The Rock, and their sons also host school. So if you heard of the Usos, Roman Reigns, it's from that whole branch. So they weren't there all the time, but I went there. It was about 2 weeks, and I'm telling you, like the training is rough. You're just taking bumps for 2 weeks. Like I'm like, and it's like just going onto a box spring and just falling as flat back as hard as you can to make that loudest impact, and your whole body is just bruised. Yeah. So I never, like I we did lockups and we were able to like cut a couple promos and things like that, but I couldn't. It was like $2,000 just to continue on and have like at the time it was called Ohio Valley Wrestling. That's the new NXT for WWE. Just to have them look at you, you had to. It was like $2,000, and then you got like a minute to basically sell yourself. So for me, it would have been to make it as a wrestler is so freaking tough. But I did play or not play. I did train, but I never actually wrestled like for a league. But yeah, we could definitely. And to clarify, it wasn't. I never wrestled in high school. It wasn't professional wrestling. It was, you know, what they call fake wrestling, which I can promise you, it's not fake. These people get hurt. But yeah, we could definitely talk. The fighting because I think we can do a lot with that. We can definitely, in my opinion, get a lot of stuff figured out, especially by the press conferences. They give a lot away. Oh, no problem if you're behind. I get it. It's a long video, so I'm sure people are going to be at different spots. Is what's the boxing that's most regulars at Golden Bay. Uh, yeah, so I mean, you have to understand the UFC is in Vegas, so they're going to take advantage of that all they want. Yeah, we're going to hit all the sports. We've bet hockey. We've played them all. We've done politics. You know, I'll play tennis. I played tennis before. Oh, cool. The heat started. Nice. Uh, Speaking of heat, I'm gonna go heat up my food and watch the game. But yeah, we can hit any sport. And if you guys want to hit a specific topic for like, I kind of like just kind of like the chill idea. Just kind of like just whatever, just chill, talk about whatever we want to talk about. But if there's a specific thing you want me to cover, I can definitely cover. That's good that a rookie's starting. A lot of times they want the rookies to look good. We can cover a specific topic, like just say you want to talk about a game for a couple hours. But yeah, I think I might just start doing these as like chill sessions where we can, more relaxed vibe, and still go into all the different. Oh, thanks, Peter. Yeah, it was fun. It really was fun, and you meet some people that you don't understand how they're even walking, let alone juggling, wrestling with all these other things. Yeah, I like the live chat. I think it's cool. Especially like I said, if even a few people came out just to watch. Thanks, Charlie. I appreciate it. It means a lot. Even if a few people wanted to watch and ask questions, I could talk for days, and I don't mind talking to the same people. but it's cool that we had a more people than I thought show up, and a lot of support, and just noticing that there's just something messed up right now. There's, as they say, was it, something stinks in Denmark. So yeah, I'm the same way, Charlie. I like to say it's funny. Like I woke up late one day and I couldn't get a video out as early as I wanted, and that was when the realization hit me. I'm like, oh, I guess I'm technically a YouTuber. I do too. Understand boxing. I really think they cover and win. But yeah, then I'm like, there's channels that I just binge watch the crap out of, and I can't get enough of them. So it's funny that like I'll be late on a video, and I'll feel like I've let people down. So of course, that's a problem I'd much rather have, than nobody wanted to watch my videos. But yeah, I try and get them out as often as I can, and I try and get them out where I'm not just putting them out for the sake of putting them out, but they're gonna, my playlist ones are specifically for the bets, and then I try and get my narratives. But I'm glad you like the material. I try and just talk instead of going into trying to rehearse everything. I think that's when people kind of lose who they are. Heat looking good. All right, yeah. Don't forget, I always try and get them in early before the live betting gets you. But yeah, early games always start early. Um, you know, even it's good we're up, but we never want to get too uh ahead. We never want to celebrate early. I'll say. Bam, yeah, Bam. I agree. I think Deadman's done a great job when Bam hasn't been in. Thanks, Cricket. I appreciate it. I'm about to get my food. I haven't eaten in a little bit, and got to take my doggy out. But yeah, I appreciate all you guys for coming by. For the Bucks, I think really really close, but I think because of the Drew Holiday story, I don't I think I would fade the Bucks, to be quite honest. I did fade them twice with the Hawks, and both times the Hawks covered, because I think they're going to explain this is why you need Chris Middleton, this is why Giannis isn't enough. Yeah, Jokic without Mitch Robinson, that's the issue I have with the Knicks. That's the reason I wasn't loving them. But yeah, Cavs, I think make more sense, in my opinion, just because I think they're going to explain you can't just do it with Giannis. Yeah, do you remember that Rashard Lewis with Orlando? I mean, he said he shot 200 threes before every game. I don't know how true that is, but I used to like watching him play. But yeah, take care, everybody. Thank you all for the support. Just for so I wasn't sitting here talking to myself like I usually am. No, I do appreciate it. You guys, like I said, I try and put out the best stuff I can, but I really appreciate it. Everyone that is telling me how much they like my channel. Honestly, it's impossible to tell. I think we're our own worst critics. So I'm always like, man, my video there, aged terribly, and then but I guess other ones age better. So it's just like I said, over time, I just hope we can just be over the target more than we're not. And so far we have been. I think we're around 62%. So we're gonna hope to keep that up, and definitely extend it. So yeah, take care, everybody. And if I missed any question, I'm really sorry. I tried to get every single one. Uh, but if I did, just please just post it in the comments, and I'll definitely hit it there, and I'll hit it next time. And yeah, I saw you guys mentioned, I think Saturday or something, doing a live stream. I'll definitely give you a little more, much more notice. Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah, let's do an NFL live stream. I'll do more. I'll put notice out. That way people have more time, and the weekend will be nice too. So Dragon Ball Z. Yep, I'm gonna go watch Phoenix Wright. I don't know if you guys ever heard of that show, but it's a cool ass show to binge. So after I watch some of the basketball game, if you check out Phoenix Wright, it's actually a game that they turned into an anime. Really fucking cool. Really cool. Uh, oh, thanks, Brandon. I appreciate it. Yeah, like I said, I it's something I never asked people to do, uh, and it was on purpose. It was an instinctive. Uh, it was a very cognizant decision. I figured if people like my channel, they're gonna like me. They're gonna like it. They're gonna subscribe. If they don't, they're not. And if my content's not good enough to keep people, then that's on me. So I appreciate it. It means a lot. And no problem. Thank you for everything. And Oh yeah, I'll definitely put notice. I'll be able to put a little more notice next time. I wasn't even sure if the laptop was going to work, but it did. So that's cool. We'll be able to do this going forward. So as I always say, take care, everybody. Happy earnings. Thanks, Steven. I appreciate everything, man. And in the Discord, he's in the Discord. He's very helpful. He and like I said, happy earnings, guys.